My boyfriend of 2 years, 31M, says he can't marry me, 31F, because of something he found in my phone. Hi everyone. Sorry this is a bit long. I just want to give enough context. My boyfriend and I went out of town this weekend to celebrate our anniversary. We spent the day doing activities around the city and then went out to dinner. He's not much of a drinker, but since we were celebrating, he decided to have a few drinks. When we got back to the hotel, he was definitely drunk, but I still wanted to enjoy the night. So we started watching TV. Out of nowhere, he suddenly said, "I went through your phone and saw that you cheated on your ex-fiancée. I could never marry someone like that." He also kept saying, "I've known for a long time. I just never brought it up. If you want to be with me, you need to be honest. I was engaged back in 2014. And apparently he had gone way back through my phone and found old text messages and photos from that time. I'm a bit of a hoarder when it comes to messages and photos. I just never think to delete them. I have text messages going back to 2012. The thing is, everything he saw was from after my ex, and I had already broken up. I tried to explain that, but he wouldn't listen. He started yelling and calling me awful names like rear and btch. He kept saying I was a terrible person and that he could never marry someone like me. It got so bad that when he went to the bathroom, I went downstairs and asked hotel security to help me get my things so I could leave safely. Security came up with me, and even then, he kept trying to convince me not to leave. Security had to tell him several times that he couldn't stop me if I wanted to go. I ended up going to a relative's house nearby for the night. Since then, he's been texting me nonstop telling me I'm not marriage material, that I'm a bad person for leaving him there, and that he could never trust me. I'm honestly really hurt and confused. I've never cheated on him or on my ex. For that matter, does he have a right to be upset? Is this something worth trying to work through? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Rethink everything. Put it in consideration. Don't marry someone like him. This dude is manipulative and controlling. Sorry, that happened to your reply. Thank you for being kind. I know I need to leave. I just needed to hear it out loud. I wanted to call a friend or family member, but I really don't like getting them involved. I just needed to feel validated in my decision. Update. First off, I want to thank everyone who reached out with support, kind words, and even alternative perspectives, even the tough or negative ones. Your feedback truly helped me see things for what they were. Now, for some context about what he found in my phone. Back in 2014, I was engaged. He came across pictures of me with another man taken in early 2015, someone who obviously wasn't my fiancé. Since he didn't know when my ex and I had broken up, he jumped to the conclusion that I cheated. I'm not saying that excuses his reaction, but I wanted to clarify the situation. It honestly just seems like self-sabotage. He can honestly never let himself be happy in our relationship. It has always been like this, and I should have seen this as a red flag from the beginning. When I got home on Sunday morning, I took some time to process everything and figure out my next steps. I followed your advice and called my mom and best friend. They were both incredibly supportive and helped me think clearly. I decided to go back to my hometown for a few days to give him space and time to move out. On Saturday night, during one of his angry texts, he mentioned he'd be out of the house by Thursday on Sunday night. I locked myself in my bedroom while he slept on the couch. I even kept my phone under my pillow, just in case, but thankfully, everything was uneventful. He leaves early for work. So this morning I packed my things and left. My plan was to stay gone until Thursday when he could move out. But I'll be honest, and I know some of you might shake your heads, I couldn't leave without knowing I had proven the truth. I went through my Google Photos and old messages and found the final conversation between me and my ex-fiancée, which confirmed what I already knew. We broke up at the end of 2014. I never cheated, so I sent him a long message. I told him I was done and that I did, in fact, expect him to be out by Thursday. I also told him there was no undoing the things he said or how he treated me, and that I was finally at peace knowing I told the truth and that I hadn't cheated on him or anyone else. I also included the screenshot of the final text message between me and my ex confirming the timeline. He read the message and immediately tried to backtrack, saying, "We both hurt each other and need time to process things." But there's really nothing left to say. He was completely wrong, and now that he knows it, he's trying to walk it all back. I'm not standing for that. He's so delusional that he feels like he can gaslight me into believing that I hurt him in some way over something that happened a decade ago. And I didn't even know him. He did apologize for calling me out of my name. But that's nowhere near enough. I feel strong in my decision to leave, knowing I did everything I could in that relationship. I'm so thankful for all of you who offered encouragement and advice during such a dark time. It truly helped me find my strength again. I know I probably should have just let him think whatever he wanted to, but I just couldn't help myself now that I'm safe and away from him. I can answer any other questions you might have. I hope I didn't miss anything. Stories number 2. I called code enforcement on 2 neighbors for blocking the sidewalk. Now the whole neighborhood is mad at me, so this is awkward. 2 neighbors keep parking on the sidewalk, even though they have plenty of room in their driveways. I walk with my kids' scooters, stroller, the whole circus, and it's been annoying having to either go in the street or weave around cars through the grass. I finally called code enforcement, couldn't do it anonymously where I live. And apparently that info is public record. They showed up about an hour later. But instead of just checking the 2 houses I mentioned, they went down the entire street. Maybe even the whole neighborhood, writing citations. A bunch of neighbors were outside talking, warning others. And an older woman I've never met power walked to my house. Snapping pictures, she lingered for a few minutes. I'm pretty sure the whole block thinks I called on all of them. Some neighbors block the sidewalk but don't have space in their driveways. I wouldn't have called on them, they still got cited. I honestly wasn't trying to start neighborhood drama. I just wanted the sidewalks clear so me and my kids could walk safely. Anyone else have something spiral like this? Did it blow over eventually? I'm worried about potential retaliation. Update. Thanks for all the responses. I really appreciate the positive feedback. This is ultimately an ADA compliance issue. And I'm glad most people recognize the importance of accessibility rather than seeing it as my responsibility to police the neighborhood. I watched Crip Camp a few years ago, and it really helped me see accommodations through a completely different lens. I've read a bunch of responses, and I get that opinions are mixed. Just to clarify a few things, I agree that it's reasonable for code enforcement to check the whole block. That is their job, and I can't really tell them to ignore other violations once they are out here. Some people suggested I should have left notes, but that feels just as awkward, maybe even more so. Leaving notes can come off as passive-aggressive, and a lot of people have cameras or are particular about their cars. I didn't want to touch anyone's property or risk someone claiming I was vandalizing their car. No matter how nicely I talked to neighbors about not parking on the sidewalk, I could have still been labeled a Karen. They might follow the request, or they might not, and I would likely still have to call code enforcement anyway. That approach just felt more yucky and retaliatory. Anyway, thanks again to everyone who understood where I was coming from and saw my intentions for what they were. Update 2. No one got tickets or fines. They were just told to move their cars. Comments. Commenter 1. No one should be surprised that they got a ticket for blocking the sidewalk. Commenter 2. I had this issue. He was a deputy and would park his police cruiser across the sidewalk. I asked him not to do it. He ignored me. The HOA asked him not to do it. He ignored them, so I called his boss. Let me tell you, that blew up. He got his ass chewed. Then he got pissed at the neighborhood. He literally sold his house over the issue, saying neighborhood wants to get him fired. What a douchebag. Commenter 3. Some neighbors block the sidewalk but don't have space in their driveways, huh? For 1, why? For 2, this is still a problem. Do you think the guy in a wheelchair gives a fuck if they don't have space in their driveway? Or the mother with a stroller has to try and drag it through the dirt? Or go into the street? Commenter 4. Get some cameras and make sure your own home is up to code. And honestly, I think they should cite everyone. If you own too many cars to fit on your driveway without impeding sidewalk access, that's on you to solve. IMO. Clean your garage. Get rid of a car. Park it somewhere else. Expand your driveway. Put it on the street. Whatever. I have personally experienced how shitty it is to be mobility impaired and you can't keep walking because some asshole who bought the latest Child Crusher 1500X or whatever thinks that it's everyone else's problem but their own that they don't have enough driveway space. So fuck them. If you don't like that, should bought a home without sidewalks. Stories number 3. Aita for intentionally scaring my neighbor's kids. My 29F bedroom window faces the front yard. During the day, I have the blinds half open, enough to let in some light and sunshine for my cats, from the street, and even the front yard. It's not possible to see clearly into my bedroom because of this. I do often walk through my bedroom in my underwear or just partly dressed to get to the bathroom. I don't risk walking around naked though. Recently, my neighbor's twin kids, both male and I'm guessing around 7 years old, have started looking in my bedroom window. I don't just mean standing by the window in my yard. I'm talking faces and hands completely pressed up against the window looking in. I assumed this started with them looking at my cats. But now I think they consider it some type of game with me. If they see me, they run back home laughing. I have caught them outside on a number of occasions and asked them directly not to do this. But again, they just run away laughing like it's a game. I've also spoken to their parents multiple times, and they refuse to do anything about it. The response I got was, they're just kids being kids, and if you don't want someone looking in your window, just keep it closed. I think that teaching your kids that it's okay to go onto someone's property and peek in their window is kind of fucked up. I know they're only young, but I still feel like my privacy is being invaded. This has been going on almost daily for months now, until last week. I walked in my bedroom and heard the kids outside playing, then spotted the terrifying demon-like mask that my boyfriend wore to a Halloween party the night before. So I got an idea. I stood next to my window wearing the mask for almost 20 minutes. Finally, I heard the footsteps approaching and waited until both kids had their noses pressed up against the window. At that moment, I jumped out, mask right at their eye level, and let out the deepest and loudest roar I possibly could. In all the years living next to these neighbors, I've never heard them scream as loudly as they did when they saw me. They ran home screaming and crying, and just minutes later their mother was at my door, calling me a monster for scaring her children. I simply told her that I do what I want in my own house, and if her kids don't want to see that, they should stay away from my window. It's been a week now, and I'm glad to say the kids have not even stepped foot on my front lawn. Not sure if it's because they're traumatized, or the parents have just told them not to do it anymore. Either way, I'm happy. I felt justified at the time. But everyone I've told has said that I took it too far for such young children. So I don't know. Comments. Commenter 1. I love it. If she keeps complaining, I would let her know that there are consequences for parents and their kids when parents let their kids trespass and be peeping toms, which would get them arrested as a teen or adult, because kids will be kids. Commenter 2. NTA. They're lucky they didn't get a call from the police instead of just getting scared by a mask. The mother, though, is TA. She should be teaching her kids better and not to look into random neighbors' bedroom windows. The nerve. Keep your windows closed. The absolute gall. What would be her excuse if her kids had caught you and your boyfriend together through those windows? You shouldn't be having sex where kids can see it. Frankly, you should have done it sooner. And anyone who disagrees clearly has never had their privacy encroached on, children or not. Edit to add. Also, I justify my reply as a parent myself, so no, I don't think you took it too far. Commenter 3. If she gives you grief again, tell her, fine. Next time I will call the cops and report there's 2 peeping toms at my window, and you can explain to the officers why you're allowing them to be perverts, and see how she responds to that. ETA scratch the warning. The next time they do it, call the police. I'd start with the non-emergency number and let them know about the situation. They can send a couple officers to talk with the boys and their parents. Commenter 4. The first time that woman told me she was okay with her kids coming onto my property and pressed their faces up against my bedroom window, I'd have gone to the police to report them for trespassing, voyeurism, and invasion of privacy. This behavior is a crime when adults do it. And the very least that woman should be doing is teaching her kids it's not acceptable. Stories number 4. Aita for asking my parents why they hate me for stuff I did when I was 3 that was caused by their crappy parenting. My parents don't like me, and I'm positive they hate me. Sounds extreme? Sure. I 16M know I sound like a lot of teens who exaggerate, but my relationship with my parents isn't something I need to exaggerate about. And I have other adults on both sides of my family who are on my side and have spoken up to my parents for the way they treat me. The stuff my parents use against me all happened when I was 3. I had 2 younger siblings at the time, and my parents focused on them and ignored because they were both still babies. They were born 11 months apart, and it made me jealous and act out. Even back then, their parents told them they were passing me around to too many family members, and at least one of them needed to make some time for me. My parents didn't listen, and they either passed me along to different family or left me to play alone all day. Would ignore me if I went to them, and would ask someone to come over and feed me so they could focus on the babies. It made me throw tantrums and lash out, and when this had been going on for maybe 4 or 5 months, I bit my mom to try and get some of their attention on me. After that, it was pretty much it. They have never let me live down the fact I bit my mom. They bring it up all the time, and they always ignore the fact I was 3 and use it to shame me for wanting any kind of attention or time from them. They bring it up around others. They argue with their families over it when their families tell them I was 3 and they were ignoring me. Every time they buy something for my siblings, but not me, the excuse used is I bit my mom and they didn't. Or how could I possibly think a biter deserves to be rewarded for anything? Someone in the family called CPS on them because of how they treated me. CPS did nothing, but it pissed my parents off. We don't know who, but I know it had to be one of them because they have all defended me before and they always ask me how things are at home and has anything worse happened. My parents almost cut both sides out of our lives over the report, but they used them all for free babysitting, so they stopped. I get left out of beach days and days. Days at the amusement park and stuff like that. Because I bit my mom when I was 3, they make me apologize for it still. I don't know how many times I apologized for it, but I have done it more often than not. I don't even remember biting her, but that doesn't matter to them. They also throw in my face that I wanted to get rid of my siblings. They told me I wanted to hurt them and send them away and never see them again because I'm so selfish. One time my dad said that around grandma, his mom, and she went off on him for talking to me like that, and she said a normal parent would be ashamed of themselves and their neglect of their older child if they said something like that at 3 and wouldn't hold it against a kid. She told him those words were on him and mom and not on the 3-year-old who said them. All my grandparents have offered to take custody of me and my parents never accepted. They have been questioned about turning it down when they clearly have no love for me. But I think they like punishing me for my behavior at 3. The way my parents have treated me has prevented me and my siblings from ever being close. They're super close, but they treat me like shit too, and I resent them for being treated better. I resent them for having parents who don't hold shit against them from when they were 3 years old, and I hate them for treating me bad too. Last week it was my sister's birthday, and family came over and my parents were giving me an extra hard time because I was given a few things I needed for school and my parents didn't like anyone giving that stuff to me. My grandparents all tried to stick up for me and shut my parents down. But I used my voice for the first time for real, and I asked my parents why they hated me for stuff I did when I was 3 when it was because of their crappy parenting I did it in the first place. My parents lost their minds and told me to shut the fuck up and how dare I speak to them like that or think I can question their parenting. It got so bad that my grandpa dad's dad recorded it and grandma mom's mom tried to call the police, but my parents calmed down when they realized. They wanted to take me with them, but my parents stopped them and said they would make sure they paid for kidnapping me and they wouldn't stop until they never saw us again for interfering in their parenting. I stayed because of that. I made life worse for myself by standing up because the last week my parents have been more hateful toward me than ever before. I hate that I have 2 more years to live like this because I won't take any risk that my grandparents or any family member who would take me would get into trouble with the law. I won't risk it no matter how bad it gets unless I get removed officially because then my parents can't do shit. Ada? Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, you were 3. Biting a parent is something plenty of toddlers do too. So they have no right to hold that against you. They are extremely immature and sound horrid. They sound negligent, and the social worker who check out your family life seems like they didn't try hard enough. Look into emancipation. Reply. I looked into it last year. In my state, you basically have to be a rich kid who did acting or something that makes lots of money to get emancipated. Otherwise, you just don't have enough of your own money to be emancipated. It sucks because I got excited when I heard about it, and then I was like, oh, guess that rules me out. They're always so angry and hateful around me, but when they're around my siblings, it's so different, and most people probably don't even think I'm theirs. Commenter 2. You have the recording. Tell them you are going to live with your grandparents, and if they try to stop you, you will release the recording to their employers, their church, their friends. Every single person that knows them. Commenter 3. NTA. I don't know the laws where you live, but I'm pretty confident that you and your grandparents wouldn't be in any legal trouble for if a 16 years old decided to live with their grandparents instead of their parents. Particularly with the video of very inappropriate behavior over school supplies at the party. You could talk to CPS to find out for sure if you wanted. Explain that you are fed and clothed, not being beaten, etc. But this is how you are being treated, and ask how it would work for you to live with your grandparents. Retaliation using your siblings as weapons is my main concern here. I think your parents will block you and your grandparents from seeing them, and will probably poison them against you. Also take into account what this means for college funds, though I suspect their opinion is that college funds are for kids who didn't bite their mom. If you'd have to switch school districts, etc., I'm sorry you've been treated this way. Reply, I don't care if I never see my siblings again. They already treat me like shit and will never be able to understand what I went through, so it won't be a huge loss. My grandparents would care though, and might not want to lose two of their grandkids, and I don't blame them because those are their grandkids too. I'll talk to my grandparents about it and see what they say. Commenter 4, my youngest is 21 months and she's bitten me loads. I love the bones off of her. There has to be more to this. Are you not your dad's? I feel mean writing it, but to treat you the way they do and having two kids in quick succession sounds suspicious. Reply, my dad is on my birth certificate. My parents were together years before they had me. My dad's family treat me like I'm theirs. I look way more like his side than mom's too, so I'm pretty sure I am, as they just hate me for the stuff when I was 3. Commenter 5. NTA, I have a 3-year-old who has bitten me a handful of times. Obviously, it's not behavior I'm encouraging. And my first thought was, I'm a failure as a parent. Why is my kiddo, who I love and who loves me, biting me? Then I chatted with some professionals about the behavior and learned it's totally normal and got some tips for how to deal with it, and things are going great. If everything you're saying is accurate, your parents sound, at the very least, negligent towards you. I know it's hard to advocate for yourself as a teen who is essentially forced to live with their parents. But try to find someone outside of the family, maybe a counselor at school, to talk to about it. They may be able to take actions to help that are difficult for direct family to take due to consequences from your parents. Stories number 5, old fling from 2010 added me on Facebook, and I think her 15-year-old might be my kid. Back in 2010, I was 20, working a retail job with a girl around my age. We were friends, hung out after work a few times. And one night things got physical. It was a one-time thing. A few days later she got fired. Not because of me, just workplace drama. And after that she completely disappeared. Never returned calls, never answered texts, nothing. I figured she just wanted to move on. Life went on for me too. Fast forward to now, I'm 35. Married for 8 years, no kids. Yesterday, I get a Facebook friend request from her out of nowhere. I haven't thought about this woman in over a decade. Out of curiosity, I check her profile. She has a son who just turned 15. Here's the thing. The kid looks exactly like me when I was that age. Same hair color, same nose, same build. Even the same smile gap in our front teeth I used to hate in photos. I showed my brother without saying anything, and he said, "Dude, that looks like you in middle school." It also appears she married a guy a few years after our encounter. I believe they are now divorced. He is of a different ethnicity than me. They had a few children together, and the 15-year-old appears not his. Now I'm sitting here trying to figure out what to do with this information. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but the math lines up perfectly, and the resemblance is impossible to ignore. To make things more difficult, my wife and I have been struggling to conceive for years. We've gone through tests, treatments, and a lot of disappointment. It's been hard on both of us. And the idea that I might have a biological child out there that I never knew about is messing with my head. My wife knows about that fling. She's always known I wasn't a saint before we met. But she obviously doesn't know I might have a 15-year-old kid out there. I have no idea how to even start that conversation. So I've got two problems. Do I message this woman and ask straight up if her kid is mine? She had to add me for a reason, right? And more importantly, how do I even begin to approach the subject with my wife? I'm not trying to blow up anyone's life here. But if that kid is mine, I feel like I have a right to know. And he has a right to know too. I am in a position in life where I could greatly help him in the next few years college, etc. On the other hand, I want to prevent causing a huge mess in my marriage. Any direction or advice is appreciated. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I almost would want to bring up the idea with the missus first, then decide whether any contact about the kid is worth pursuing. I feel best to approach this together if you think that's what should happen. Reply, this is kind of where my head is at, by principle. I do not talk with other women via social or text out of respect for my wife. I would want to tie her in on the entire exchange and how to move forward. Commenter 2. 1 no, 2 no. If you want to walk yourself into 15 years of debt for back payments of child support, go ahead and ignore me. Also, if you want to get a divorce, ignore me. If you don't want to be an idiot, don't touch this with a 10-foot pole. Hey, this kid has brown hair and brown eyes. Just like me. Just like 7 billion other people. I'm amazed our species has survived this long with this deficit of common sense. Reply: it was more the gap in the teeth that stood out to me. It's genetic. My grandmother, mother, my only brother, and I have had a gap in our two front teeth. The kid legitimately looks like a spitting image of me as a teenager. I understand why you would downplay this. But the similarities are substantial. Update. Reached out to the woman who might have had my child 15 years ago. Yesterday morning, I told my wife everything. I was nervous to even start the conversation, but I knew keeping it to myself was not fair to her. This year has already been extremely hard on her with ongoing mental health struggles, and I did not want to add more weight to her shoulders. But she deserved honesty. She took it better than I expected. She was upset but calm and said she agreed the resemblance between me and the boy was too strong to ignore in her words. Yeah, that kid has your teeth. We talked for a long time and decided I should reach out again to get clarity. Later in the day, I messaged the woman on Facebook. I kept it brief and direct. I told her that I noticed her friend request, that I was not comfortable accepting it since I am married, and asked why she reached out. I added that if there was something important she wanted to discuss, I was willing to listen, but otherwise I preferred not to reconnect. She responded shortly after my message. She explained that back in 2010, she had been seeing an on and off boyfriend around the same time she and I hooked up. When she found out she was pregnant, she believed the child was likely his and told him so. They stayed together for a while, and when they split up, he continued to pay child support. According to her, he was never really involved in the boy's life. Out of curiosity, I looked him up. A simple Google search showed a long history of legal trouble, including multiple DUIs, time in prison, and other offenses. From everything I have learned, he was not much of a father figure. Recently, his new wife began pressing for a DNA test because the boy did not resemble him. He finally agreed, and the test confirmed he is not the biological father. That discovery set off a chain reaction. He has now filed to terminate child support and is suing to recover the money he paid over the years. I'm an attorney. From a legal standpoint, I know that is an uphill battle for him. It is extremely difficult to recover past child support once it has been paid. Courts tend to prioritize stability for the child over fairness to the adults, without a certain father to shift the obligation to, meaning no one else has yet been legally established as the biological father. Most courts will not vacate the original paternity finding. They do not want to leave the child without a legally responsible parent, even if the prior assumption turns out to be wrong. Long short, it appears he willingly agreed to support the child 15 years ago without a paternity finding. He should have done his due diligence then. On top of this, he currently owes her almost $23,000,000 in child support arrearages. In my jurisdiction, that principle holds true as well. Overturning paternity this late in the game is nearly impossible unless another father is confirmed and willing to assume legal responsibility. The woman told me that after the DNA results came back, she thought of me immediately and said I am the only other possible father. She also said she has already told her son the truth, that the man he believed to be his father is not biologically related to him. She said it has been difficult for him to process, but she felt it was time to be honest. She has not asked me for anything. She has waited almost 6 months to reach out to me. No money, no contact, no involvement. She said she only wanted me to know and that she is open to doing a DNA test whenever I am ready. I have already discussed this with an attorney friend who is licensed in her state. He walked me through some of my options and explained the potential legal implications depending on how things unfold. I am considering those now. My wife and I are still processing everything. This has been a long weekend. She has been more understanding than I could have hoped for, though I can tell it weighs on her. I am trying to balance the desire to know the truth with not wanting to disrupt a teenager's life that is already unsettled. For now, we are taking things one step at a time. The woman seems sincere and has not shown any signs of ulterior motives. I will keep everyone updated once I decide what to do next. But for the sake of attorney-client privilege and everyone's privacy, I may not post another update for a while. P.S. The woman did see my original post on here. This post has been heavily edited to include only the relevant facts and to preserve attorney-client privilege. I still felt an obligation to keep you all apprised since many of you gave sincere advice and helped me think clearly when this first surfaced. As always, any help or advice is appreciated. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. If you decide to be in his life, he probably needs therapy as he has already been let down by one father figure. Introducing you is not necessarily a bad thing as long as you take your cues from him. Reply, we are 100% pro-therapy and mental health. Commenter 2. I'm glad you were honest with your wife. How she's seeing a therapist or planning to see one. This is a lot for her to handle. Right now, hopefully you can have an uncle or family friend relationship with your son. Hoping for more might be too much to ask. Good luck. Reply, that's my hope. We're open to more, but don't want to rush or force anything. Commenter 3. There is a podcast called DNA Surprises that covers this from the point of view of the person who found that their assumed father wasn't their biological father. It might help you to understand you, probable son's, point of view. Every guest on the podcast tells their story. Every one of them has a no biological parent. Reply, thank you for this. I'll look into it. Stories number 6. I think I did something wrong to another girl because I felt like she was threatening my relationship. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost a year. But this issue happened a little before we were dating, but it has been bothering me a little. Before I met him, he had this friend, let's call her Rachel. He and Rachel had known each other since they were 15. He told me that when he first met her, he had a crush on her, but then switched schools and didn't see her until freshman year in college. In high school, they weren't very close because Rachel was kind of unreachable for him. But in college, they began a really close friendship. Because we live far from campus and we take the bus to school, and they used to sit together all the time. From what I know is that in February 2019, he confessed his love to Rachel, and she admitted she liked him as well, but that she wasn't ready for a relationship and she was hung up with another guy. And in March, he and I started talking. I always saw him from afar and had a crush on him. But he was always with Rachel. We began casually dating in May. And everything was going so well until my boyfriend told me he had to sit with Rachel on the bus every day now. Because of something that happened to her. I don't have the full details in this. But from what I understand is that one day at the bus, a guy sexually abused Rachel and she didn't have any other friend in the bus, so she went out to seek help from him. As the angel he is, obviously he accepted, but I wasn't very comfortable with this agreement between them. If I am being honest, I am a little jealous of Rachel. She is a very pretty and seems to be very nice girl. But as our relationship was very new, I felt insecure about this. Fast forward, I told him that he wasn't allowed to sit next to her ever again, and that the next day in the morning, he needed to choose me or Rachel. He picked me, and I saw Rachel shed a couple of tears. And I felt bad, honestly, but we needed boundaries. A couple of months ago, I catch him messaging Rachel, asking about her current life status with quarantine and if she was still going to therapy, and then a couple of old messages between them. Him being grateful about a gift Rachel gave him and him being so helpful with her. I kind of feel awful about me just taking him away from her. But I felt we needed to set boundaries, and for me, Rachel is a potential danger to my relationship given the special bond between my boyfriend and her. I have thought about apologizing to her about what happened and clearing things up with him. He is so great to me that I feel awful about taking his friend away from him. Relevant comments. OOP responds to a deleted comment. Reply. While I appreciate you siding with me, he is not overly involved in her life. They talk once in a while, and the gift was last year. She wasn't using him for attention. What happened to her is genuine. The guy that did that to her has done it to at least other 3 girls. But I do think that he has unresolved feelings for her. Commenter. Nor does OP have any obligation to be responsible for Rachel potentially being attacked. Rachel can always ask OP and OP's BF to sit with her, instead of only OP's BF in that case. Seeing as OP would be sitting alone on this dangerous bus, what if OP gets sexually attacked instead? Reply. I have never crossed words with Rachel. Never. If I don't sit with my BF, I sit with my brother. Rachel only had him and I took him away. Because of quarantine and online school, he hasn't seen her. But I am afraid of what will happen when we come back to school. I need genuine advice on this. I don't care if people here think I am an asshole. I know I am, but I want to make things right. So I went asking for advice and relationship advice, and people were either supporting me or shitting me. So I am asking for honest advice. Last year I met my boyfriend on the school bus. We go to college, but we live far away, and we take the school bus there. Not now because we are taking our classes online. I used to see him from afar. He was always with this very pretty girl. Let's call her Rachel. So I thought she was his girlfriend. so I never made an effort to talk to him. Until my brother, who goes to the same school, started talking to him because he wanted to know if Rachel was single. Well, my boyfriend, let's call him Harry, told him was that he met Rachel when they were 15 and that he had a crush on her, but never made a move because she was unreachable. Then he switched schools and never saw her again until freshman year of college, where they became really good friends. Later on, he confessed his love to her. And Rachel admitted that she liked him as well, but wasn't ready to be in a relationship and that she was hung up with another guy. This was in February 2019. In March, we started being friends and began casually dating in late June. Fast forward to September. He tells me he has to sit next to Rachel on the bus every day now, because on the night bus a guy sexually abused her, and none of her friends go to the same bus. So there goes my asshole move. After a couple of weeks, I began feeling uncomfortable of them spending time together, especially because it felt like nothing had changed between them, even if they were apart for months. So I told him he needed to choose me or her. The day after that on the bus, he picked me. I saw Rachel shed a couple of tears, and I felt bad, honestly. I can't erase that image of her off my head. I really thought he had stopped talking to her. But turns out that he was with her through the whole process of her therapy and her pressing charges against the guy. So by December, she gave him this really fancy medical dictionary, but he completely lied to me about how he got it. I just found out it was a gift from her. And plenty of messages between them in the last months. I didn't say anything to him, but I don't know if he has unresolved feelings about her. Our relationship is strong, I think, but I feel really insecure about it. People on other subreddits think I should apologize to Rachel because I took her only friend away from her, and also made my boyfriend feel bad about helping out a friend in need. Today I talked to him about it, and he gave me Rachel's phone number, but I don't know what to do. Edit. My age is 21. My boyfriend and Rachel are both 20. A couple of days ago, I made a post about me feeling awful about prohibiting my boyfriend to be friends with a girl named Rachel. Many people suggested I needed to talk to him about it, or that Rachel was trying to steal him away from me, because they are still very much in contact. So I talked to him, and he told me that at first when we got together last year, he was still a little hung up on Rachel, because he always thought that she was the one, and then he said that he does speak with her regularly on the phone, because he misses her, but he says that she isn't the one reaching out to him, is the other way around. So I am just so mad at him. Like he gets to be with me and also talk every day with the girl he thought was the one? That is bullshit. I am a mess right now, and I feel like I do have to break up with him, but at the same time I don't want to do it. But then I remember the cherry on top of the cake. The first one is that he never told Rachel he was dating me. She thinks we were just friends. And the second one is that he admitted that a month before we started dating, he and Rachel constantly had sex in his car and basically everywhere. A fucking month. I am so mad. I started packing in boxes all the stuff. He gave me all of it. And tomorrow I am going to his house to end things. I hope I am doing the right thing. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You definitely deserve to be the one for someone else. He can go back to Rachel. Reply. Thank you. I know that. Them having sex before he started dating me doesn't count as cheating, but it feels like it. It even makes me wonder if they were having sex the whole time we were together. Commenter 2. Babe, you know it's over. You're looking for a few internet strangers to back you up. I'm happy to be in that gang. Let's talk about good things. It's a holiday season in most places. Do you have nieces or nephews you're making gifts for? Or holiday cookies? I'm not religious, but I love making those cookies where you do the fancy thing with a toothpick on the icing and it looks all professional. There's a world of stuff outside this dude, probably including a better dude. Reply. I am happy to have you here. I actually have a little sister. She is 7 years old and very excited about the holidays, even if they are going to be a little bit different. We love baking cookies, and I think this year she is old enough to put some ice on them. I really like those fancy cookies too. I'm a little bit religious, but not too much. We do pray a lot this time of the year to be grateful to God about the things He gave us this year. And I know some better dude will come along. Hopefully the one, as he says. Update. First of all, I want to thank everyone who gave me advice and encouragement in the past days. After thinking everything and having a long talk with my mom last night, I decided to break up with him for good. Sorry if this post is incredibly long, but I need to vent my thoughts. Today, I went over to his house. We went to one of the gardens of the residential where he lives. I started by saying that until a few days ago, I believed he was the best boyfriend of the world, that he had always been caring and thoughtful, and that I really thought that our relationship was special. But the feeling was not mutual. I told him that I can't ignore the fact that he lied to me about Rachel, and that he lied to Rachel about us. Then when he finally got the nerve to speak, he said that he told Rachel about us. Too bad, because it is a year too late. I made it very clear for him that I am not a consolation prize or second best to anyone, and that includes him. We are officially over. He apologized for lying to me. He understood and accepted my reasons for dumping him, and why that he was really sorry for leaving me in the middle of all his problems with Rachel. He admitted that it wasn't fair to me, and he hopes one day I could forgive him, and that someday someone will be crazy about me and will love as I deserve to be loved and respected. Before we were a couple, we were friends, and he just let out all his complicated stuff with Rachel. I left it in the comments, mainly for myself. Because I like to write, he realized he is completely nuts, and that he was truly a jerk to me. He promised he would work out things with her, to stop hurting people along the way, including themselves. I also told him that if he told me about what happened to Rachel on the bus, I would have been more than happy to help her. He admitted he had no clue what to do. He took her to the psychologist, talked to her mom, and helped her fill a formal complaint to the university authorities. I returned his gifts. I know I didn't have to do this, but I asked if he was okay for me to sell the expensive gifts he gave me, that include a couple of bracelets and rings, and donate the profit to a women's shelter that helps women victims of sexual abuse and domestic violence. He agreed to this idea that someone here kindly suggested. After a good cry and talking with my mom, I decided to text Rachel. She knew everything now. I kind of still felt awful about what happened on the bus that day. We spoke over the phone. She was great to me. When I was starting to apologize, she told me that I didn't needed to do that. She completely understood from where I was coming from. She said that her therapist had already told her that it wasn't good for her to depend on him for safety. She now knows how to defend and stand up for herself. Rachel was so furious at him. She kind of figured out that we were together, and she asked him several times, and he was never clear. She tried to take a step back, but he was still there. As I said, Rachel was great and so kind to me. She sent a pizza and ice cream over to my house. Because she asked what could she do for me. She told me something that got stuck in my head. Sex makes everything more complicated. She told me that growing up in a Catholic environment made her think that she needed to stick forever to the guy that she gave her virginity to. I told her she needed to break free from that and figure out her stuff with him. We agreed that we wished we could have been friends, because we have a lot in common, but that right now it feels too weird. Thanks again to everyone. I was hesitant to write this post, but even Rachel and my mom told me that it was a good idea to write it down. Rachel even gave me permission to write shit about her. I will not do that. I am free. I learned that I should never pursue someone who is clearly in love with another girl, that I have to work on myself a lot, to value my worth more, and to never settle for a bad love. I have lots of emotions, between happy and angry, but hopefully someday I will see my post and feel good about my decision. Have a happy holidays, everyone. And remember, emotional affairs are not cool. Relevant comments. Did something happen to Rachel that caused her to be dependent on OOP's ex? Reply: she was sexually abused on the school bus by someone she didn't know. My ex-boyfriend and Rachel have known each other since they were 15, and their safety issues go way back, TBH. And at the time, he was the only friend she had on the same time and route. Stories number 7. Aita, for being honest to my mother about why I am not coming back home this winter session. My father passed away when I was 10-year-old, so it has just been my mom and I. She had a couple of boyfriends here and there. I had no issues with her dating at all. In fact, I used to joke about not minding a stepfather before I hit 18. So this is not a situation where I want my mother all to myself. I just completed junior year last spring semester. I told her that I was coming back home on a certain date when I was actually coming back 2 days earlier. I opened the garage, and my mother immediately opened the door. She looked more shocked and concerned than actually happy to see me. She asked me what I was doing there. I jokingly asked if I should came back later, and even teased her about asking if she had company. We had that kind of a relationship. Then she reluctantly let me in and said it was okay. When I entered the house, lo and behold, Frank was there. Frank was someone I went to high school. We weren't close, but we didn't have an adversarial relationship. We shared classes together, had common friends, and went to the same parties. I didn't connect the dots immediately. I asked, what is he doing at my house? Then I said I didn't notice a car outside. Frank responded awkwardly and said his car was in the garage for repair. I asked again, what was he doing at my house? My mother finally spoke up and told me she was seeing Frank. I was like, WTF, and told her not only was he my age, but also my former classmate. She said she knew. I angrily asked why was she dating him of all people. She told me to calm down and explain the situation. Frank said he would take an Uber back home. After he left, my mother told me everything. She met him on an app. I tried not to think if she had any run-ins with anyone else that I knew. They went on a short date, and he did ask about me because of my last name. She told him she was my mother, but he shouldn't worry about it and see where things go. I was disturbed to say the least. They apparently have been seeing each other for 6 months. She said she would understand I would need time to come to terms with it and was eventually planning on telling me about the relationship. My mother said she understood why I was upset, but I need to accept that they're not doing anything wrong and everyone is an adult. My relationship changed with her that day. She tried to talk to me, but kept her at arm's length. She was still seeing Frank, in fact. He came to my house several times. He even stayed the night. I told her I don't want to get involved in their relationship, but if she could not have Frank come to our house so often. She got upset and told me to stay out of her business. The whole summer went by like this. When I went back to the fall semester, she tried calling me, but she eventually got the message I don't really want to talk to her. I honestly didn't want to come back home for the winter session. I asked my grandparents, my dad's parents, if I could stay with them for the winter. They were ecstatic to say the least. 2 days ago, I got a call from her asking me about when was the fall semester ending. My mother asked me if it was okay if Frank can move from his dorm and live in our house at the end of the year. Instead of giving her the option to choose between us, I decided to remove myself from the situation. I told her truth about where I was going to stay. She broke down on the phone, asked her why I just couldn't be happy for her. I told her she has the right to date whoever, and frankly, it's not my business, so I am not going to come between her and Frank. I still have the right to my feelings, and I am going to keep my distance. She hung up the phone and told my grandparents. My grandparents are still letting me stay at their place though. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm sorry. Both because you're dealing with this, and because I'm laughing thinking if you've asked her if she's met his parents yet. Reply. You know what? I did say I wonder what his parents would think towards my mother. Surprisingly, his parents don't seem to care that much. Or at least that's what my mother has said. I don't know what goes on in that household of his. Commenter 2. And TA, that's awful, Mo. You can't stop her from dating him, but she can't expect you to watch and agree with it either. Stay with your grandparents. Commenter 3. You're under no obligation to accept her relationships. She's got to make a choice. Her partner, or her son ball, is in her court. Most people wouldn't accept their parent dating a former classmate. Just because it's legal doesn't make it right. Reply. I kind of feel like my boundaries have been violated. I just have a hard time articulating why. Commenter 4. There was a similar situation going on in our town, but the mom was dating her son's best friend. It was totally awkward and her son ended up moving to Florida never to see his mom or his best friend again. They eventually broke up. Duh. 45F and 21M don't last very long. As a mom, when you choose to date your children's friends, you are immediately humiliating your children. Make no mistake, they are totally embarrassed by your choice. You are at that moment telling your kids your relationship is more important than they are. Stay with your grandparents because they want to protect you. Tell your mom that when the relationship with her boy toy ends, you won't be back around to pick up the pieces. Reply. It also show how much she values that relationship with her son by doing shit like that. Stories number 8. My friend's fiancé has been mocking me for years. I finally snapped, and now I feel like I'm the problem. For the past 9 years, I've been a part of a very tight-knit friend group. My best friend, her fiancé, and my fiancé, we've always done everything together, holidays, birthdays, traveling, board game nights. I even work at the same company as my friend. We met in a different company. She followed me to the new one. We are even planning to buy land and live near each other, not anymore. But they don't know this yet. But her fiancé has always mocked me. Things like, wow, what a fat ass. You look like shit. Stupid. Over the years, his comments have made me cry more times than I can count. I've brought it up with them many times. My friend has tried to talk some sense into him and made him apologize a few times. But the conclusion is always the same. That's just how he is. He jokes and teases everyone. He likes when something interesting is happening. The thing is, he directs it at me the most. Because I'm the perfect target, I actually react, unlike my friend who doesn't care. He makes me feel inadequate in the worst way. I feel so bad in my own skin when I see myself through his eyes. I've tried everything they told me to do. Laugh it off, ignore it, pretend it doesn't hurt. I didn't want to cause drama, and honestly, I was afraid of losing them. They're my only close friends. 2 weeks ago, we went on a workation together, and as usual, he wouldn't let me fully relax and enjoy myself. But this time, I couldn't swallow it anymore. I was already in a really bad place emotionally and physically. I'm tapering off psych meds that numbed me for over 2 years. Without them, I feel everything 100x more intensely. His mocking and jokes felt like a knife twisted in my heart. On top of that, I had awful nausea, brain zaps, and dizziness every day. Still, I pushed through. I went on the hikes. I cooked dinner. I made breakfast a couple of times. They knew how sick I felt, but he just kept going as usual. He called me a loser because I hesitated to walk too close to the campfire. I was dizzy and afraid I would lose my balance. In the car after a hike, he complained that my friend was the one looking up restaurants, as usual. Not me, even though it's untrue. I reminded them that I can't look at my phone in the car without getting sick. And he just said, yeah, same as the rest of us. Later, when we got home, all I wanted was to lie down and relax. And he jokingly threw out, you never do anything, because I hadn't cleaned the pans from the dinner I had cooked for everyone. That's when I snapped. I told him how much his comments hurt me, how invisible I feel, and he barely listened and literally laughed in my face. My friend overheard everything from upstates, and instead of supporting me, she said it was funny to listen to us fighting over dirty pans. But by then it wasn't about dishes anymore. It was about everything. I raised my voice from sheer frustration, and instead of trying to understand me, they both dismissed me. I felt like I was losing my mind. I ended up walking outside and crying, really crying, for the first time in years. Only my fiancé followed me out, hugged me, and told me we could just leave. So the next morning, we packed up and went home. They were in shock. After that, I finally realized how different we really are. I'm naturally sensitive, maybe too much. They're the opposite. We're not compatible. I always feel like I have to hide my true emotions so I don't ruin their good mood or fun. I tried to talk to my friend about it again afterward. She said there was no way she could have listened or comforted me that night because I raised my voice. She hates conflict and drama, so when someone shows strong negative emotions, she shuts down and she always defends him, claims he isn't and will never be an emotional person. She repeats I shouldn't take his words to heart because he treats me like a sister. So the message is always the same. I'm the one who should change. I should ignore him, toughen up, stop caring so much. But that's not who I am, and honestly, why is he allowed to just be himself, but I'm the one who has to change? At this point, I don't even think we're real friends anymore. I have started seeing a therapist, but I just feel so tired, sad, and confused. I'm still scared of losing them. But maybe that would be a good thing. Edit, wow. I didn't expect this to get this many responses. Thank you. You have given me comfort and much to think about. To answer some of the reoccurring questions, my fiancé has defended me many times. He called out his behavior, insulted him but softly, even had to sit down with him once. But none of this ever had any lasting effect. My fiancé is gentle by nature and doesn't like confrontation. He often suggested we make a change, but I was always too afraid of losing my friend. As for why I have been friends with them for so long, it's not like this all the time. They have many good qualities too. We share a passion for similar things: books, video games, traveling, cycling, trekking. We had a lot of fun together over the years. Many good memories. They make me laugh. But almost all of these memories are tainted by moments of hurt, which I have been ignoring for the sake of keeping the peace. But I don't want to do that anymore. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your fiancé's friend is a bully, straight up. Even kids know that if you make a joke at someone's expense and they categorically tell you it hurts them, the only acceptable response is an apology. You friend sucks ass too. If my partner did half the shit hers did, I'd be on his ass to either change his behavior or it's over. Whether he was acting like that towards a stranger or someone close to me. The fact that she just expects you to put up with it is gross. You're not being overly sensitive. You're just at your wit's end. Reply. Thank you. I think she can't imagine how this makes me feel. And perhaps she is more like him than I realized. Just recently she revealed that she used to say what's on her mind to people, and it didn't even cross her mind that someone could be hurt by her words. She stopped doing that after a year of therapy. But it's pretty telling, commenter 2. Tight-knit friend group. Nope, true friends would never allow one of them to be bullied or insulted continuously. Time to block them all and find real friends. Reply. Deep down I know all of you are right. They are not true friends, and I am going to distance myself from them. But as to finding new friends, that feels impossible. I don't really know how. I find it hard to connect to people. Commenter 3. I'm sorry, but these aren't the actions of friends. That's gone past the point of playful banter and into just straight-up high school bullying. Friends shouldn't be making their friends feel like shit. Even if he is just the type of person to playfully rib people, although from your descriptions of what he said, he's way past the point of playful ribbing. As soon as he found out that it was getting to you, he should have stopped. He's a piece of shit for treating you like that, and your friend isn't any better. She's excusing it for the benefit of a quiet life for herself. She's okay with you being made to feel like shit, but isn't okay with you standing up for yourself? You don't need people like that in your life. I'm so sorry that happened to you. You're not too sensitive. Opie, they're just assholes. Reply. Thank you. It feels so good to see someone siding with me for a change. Commenter 4. Also, if it's just about the dishes, why didn't they clean up after you cooked? Why is that your problem? When you cooked while feeling bad? And why is it okay for them to make fun of you for making sure you don't fall into the fire when they know you're off balance? Was this trip your idea? With how you're feeling, I'm surprised you wanted to do that. Just wondered if you were pressured into going. To split costs and do a little of the cooking and cleaning. I hope the trips are generally shared work. But he mentioned of cooking and then expecting you to clean made me wonder. Reply. This trip was planned and paid for months in advance. Plus, I didn't know I would be feeling this bad after the withdrawal. My friend and fiancé cook and clean as well, so I wanted to do my part too. Commenter 5. She is not your friend. If I heard my husband once mock a friend or family member, that would the last time he would do that. Do yourself a favor and stop being friends with them. I wonder how he treats her when nobody is around. Reply. I was thinking about this the other day. If the roles were reversed, I would leave my fiancé immediately. He does mock her often, but as I have mentioned, she doesn't really mind, and he treats her like a princess most of the time. I am beginning to suspect she likes that he is a bad boy that treats her sweetly. Does the friend's fiancé insult her as well? Not just OOP. Reply. He actually does insult her a lot. He is rude by nature. They used to fight a lot, but she seems okay with it nowadays. Commenter 6. How would he react if you spoke to him back this way? Probably like a giant big fucking baby. Reply. I have tried this strategy too, many times. But my mocking doesn't affect him in the slightest. And if it transforms into a heated argument, my friend goes quiet. So I often back down to avoiding hurting her. Did OOP grow up in a toxic environment because of her tolerance for abuse? Reply. Yeah, I actually did. My father had anger issues and constantly belittled my mother and brother. He was gentler with me. But I was burned a few times too. Update. I finally ended the draining friendship I wrote about last month. To anyone who might still be curious, this is an update to my friend's fiancé has been mocking me for years. I finally snapped, and now I feel like I'm the problem. I have officially ended things with my friend and her fiancé. I took all your advice to heart, talked to my therapist, and did a lot of self-reflecting. But the thing that really convinced me to do it was this. I didn't see them for over a month, barely messaged them. And it was the most peaceful month I had in years. I didn't miss them at all. I felt calm and alive. I felt almost happy. Recently, I attended a work team building event for the first time without my friend, and it was amazing. I never had this much fun on previous events. I talked to people, laughed, socialized, and people wanted to talk to me, too. Two guys said they wished they got to know me sooner, that I am a great person. It was shocking how much at peace I felt when I didn't have to perform or manage her feelings and worry about her discomfort. She disliked these events and the work people. Yesterday, I told her the truth, that I have been feeling better ever since I have distanced myself from them. She got defensive and hurt, blamed me for saying such a hurtful thing, said goodbye, and then blocked me. I feel bad about that. The old guilt and people-pleasing instinct has kicked in, but I know I did the right thing. Relevant comments. Commenter. Oh no, she understands what hurt feelings are. Good for you. Toxic friends like these suck the fun out of life. Up the team when her fiancé tries to talk some. Reply. He actually wanted to come over tomorrow to collect his games. But my fiancé told him he will drop these over at a mutual friend's place. He would have talk for sure. Commenter 2. I would also block her back everywhere you might have her so that she can't control communication with you. And block her partner too. Have your partner block both of them too. And then go on to live your best life without them dragging you down. Stories number 9. Ada for leaving my children's step-siblings in the care of their babysitter when my ex and his wife were in an accident. I 32F have two children 11 and 10 with my ex-husband 34M. We divorced 7 years ago and have not been able to remain on good terms. He remarried 5 years ago and the bad blood between us grew worse at that point. She was never happy about my presence at school functions for the kids, and she'd always make a point of sitting between me and my ex and complaining that the kids would hug me first. But that wasn't the worst of it. At one of those school functions, she accused me of pinching her daughter. Luckily, others saw what happened and knew I hadn't. But this woman went ballistic accusing me. Why? I stopped her 4-year-old at the time from falling over. After that, I made sure I sat the other side of any room as them, and I swore I would have nothing to do with this woman's children. She is too. The lucky thing for me is my kids aren't close to them and don't ever ask to invite them over or include them in birthday parties that I throw for them. This makes it easier to keep my distance so no more accusations come my way. And this woman still brings up the pinching accusation and how she should have called the cops and had me thrown in jail. A few weeks ago, my ex and his wife were in a car crash. It was his custody week. We split the kids 50-50. His babysitter called me after they didn't come back home and told me she had no idea what to do, and I was one of the emergency contact numbers given. I tried calling him, and he didn't answer, and then I got a call from his mom who told me about the accident and the fact they would be in the hospital for a while. I told her the babysitter had called me, and they might want to send someone for the younger kids. After that, I went and picked up my kids. The babysitter wanted me to take or stay with all 4. My kids wanted to come home and didn't want their step-siblings there. I told the babysitter the other kids weren't mine, and I gave her my ex's mom's number so she could call since ex gave her mine and a number that wasn't working as the emergency contacts. The kids and I stopped by the hospital the next morning, and my ex was pissed that I left his stepkids with the babysitter and didn't do more for them. I refused to engage with him on that in front of our kids. But his anger intensified when, from the sounds of it, nobody in his or her family would take care of them. He wanted me to do it, but I said no, and I told him I was nothing to his stepkids, nor would I ever be anything to them, and I was not risking his accusation-happy wife trying to destroy me with her lies. My ex is still pissed at me, and he has called me every name under the sun since the accident. His wife was hurt more seriously than him, and she's not even close to fully recovered, while he mostly is. I think that's fueling this more, but his anger toward me has led me to document all interactions we have now because he's so volatile with me. He told me I should be ashamed for taking our issues out on his stepkids. I feel like I did the right thing because those kids are not my concern even under the circumstances. My concern is more about any accusation she could throw my way and how that could affect me being a mom to my kids. But I can see where that might be heartless given what the circumstances were at the time. Comments. Commenter 1. I think the main issue for me is, in a 2 families, not a single person helped out. That says a lot about how PLL feel about the ex and his wife. Commenter 2. NTA. You're right to be cautious because that woman could falsely accuse you of something and you could end up in jail. Your ex can be mad all he wants. Reply. She very easily could. The way I look at it is if she's willing to try something in a room full of people. What would she try to do if I was alone with her children? Commenter 3. NTA. Don't take liability for the children of someone you don't trust. That's an accusation waiting to happen, and those kids are not at all related to you. In what world would they be your responsibility? Your ex doesn't have a leg to stand on. Reply. In his eyes, they are our kids, siblings, despite the kids not even feeling that way or seeing them that way. But even still, it's his responsibility as the one who chose to be their stepdad to make sure he gives accurate info for emergency contacts. Commenter 4. Let me guess, had you taken the kids, they would have accused you of kidnapping. 100% NTA. Reply. I know she would love the chance to accuse me of abusing her kids. She would do it in a heartbeat because she was willing to do so in a room full of people who would know she was lying. Stories number 10. I'm giving my friend her baby back before I was supposed to. IF 26 am childless, which I think may be relevant here. My close friend, AF 27, had her second baby, R, almost 4 months ago, and her first, T, about 7 years old, has been having trouble adjusting to his new sibling. She'd been feeling a lot of guilt around this. so I let her know that once she's comfortable, I'd be down to babysit, or so she could have some one-on-one time with T. She knows I have 12 nibblings. I was literally born an aunt, so she's comfortable with this. She took me up on the offer on Halloween so she could take T trick-or-treating. She asked if I could keep our overnight so she and T could take part in some tradition or other. I adore the baby, so of course I said yes. Halloween rolls around. A drops are off at my apartment at around 4:00 p.m. And everything's fine after about an hour. A FaceTimes me to check on the baby. Another 45 minutes go by. A FaceTimes me again. No problem. This baby is really young, so I totally get the anxiety. She continues to FaceTime me every 30 minutes to an hour, even while she takes T trick-or-treating. She'd get to a spot with no signal or Wi-Fi, try to call, the call would drop. And she'd call back to back until FaceTime stopped dropping the call at some point. They finish up trick-or-treating and go to do their Halloween tradition. Whatever it is, it runs late. She's still wide awake and FaceTiming at around 10:00 p.m. when I'm getting ready for bed. I ask her if she just wants me to bring R home. She insists that she doesn't want that. I let her know that both R and I are about to be asleep. And I definitely start getting a little a-holy here. Maybe this would be a good time to finally focus on T. She continues to FaceTime every 30 minutes to an hour. I answer or call her back every time, the last few calls. I try to break it to her gently that she's keeping both me and R awake, and he's already not a great sleeper. So it's getting a little rough settling him back down after her calls wake him up. She does not care. I finally get fed up at some point. A is clearly tired. R can't sleep because his mom won't stop calling. I won't put my phone on silent while I'm babysitting someone's newborn. For obvious reasons, and I'm irritated. After we hang up the last time, I pack up R and his things, and I take him home. She's genuinely upset with me. I thought I was doing the right thing, because she was clearly struggling with being away from the baby. T was asleep by the time I dropped R back off. So it's not like I disturbed their time. I don't have kids. Maybe that's why I can't gauge the issue. But someone please let me know if I was an AH for bringing the baby back home. Comments. Commenter 1. You did the only thing that made sense. Your friend isn't ready to be away from her baby and wasn't letting you or baby sleep. NTA. Commenter 2. NTA. I'm surprised she would even ask you to watch her baby overnight. She should have asked you to watch the baby at her home so you could leave once she was done with holiday stuff and the baby could sleep in their own bed. I think that was way too young for a baby to be away overnight. She should have stopped calling when it got to bedtime if she wanted the sleepover to be successful. Reply. I was surprised when she asked for an overnight too. The only thing I can think of is that she thought she'd be okay because T was a while ago. But I don't remember her being this anxious at all after having him. Commenter 3. And A. She didn't listen when you gently suggested that it was time to stop calling so you could sleep. Even if she can't see it, I agree that she wasn't ready to be away from the baby. Commenter 4. You are NTA. The only thing that I think I would have done differently is to warn her. A. The baby and I need to go to sleep, and you keep waking us up. If you call again before 7 a.m., I'm going to pack him up and bring him home. Clearly, she wasn't really ready to be away from the baby. Which I get, but I really feel bad for T, because you just know that in between those calls she was most likely distracted with thinking about the baby. So he probably didn't get any real attention from his mom. Reply. I definitely should have given her notice before I took him home. Someone else mentioned that that's where I went wrong. How I went about it was probably a little aggressive. Commenter 5. NTA. And if you can gently find a way to check in with her about postpartum anxiety, that may end up being helpful. She may be fine, but it doesn't hurt to check and bring awareness if she was struggling to go 30 minutes without checking on baby while knowing they were with a trusted friend. Reply. I would check in, but I've been cut off. That's why I posted here, because her reaction is throwing me for a loop. I'm lost. Stories number 11. I was stopped and told to leave a neighborhood by private security while on a run. TLDR, I was stopped and given a hard time by a private security company. While running on a public road, I'm a runner, mostly as a hobby, but it's a free and easy to stay in shape. I run a few times a week, generally just down the main road, then dip into random off streets and developments. Friday I ran a bit further than usual for marathon prep, and into a new development via some kind of side entrance of another development. Nice area, like really nice area. I checked my map and decided I just wanted to run up. loop, and come back down and on to the next neighborhood. I had noticed LPRs and other cameras on the corner where I had come into this neighborhood. I thought nothing of it since they're everywhere. But it wasn't that normal brand we always see around. Whatever, a lot of HOAs do that stuff. I had gotten just over a mile in and was working my way back out to the main road when I was approached by some private security vehicle. I was greeted kindly by the guy who was in a typical security uniform. He asked how my run was going. Then he asked me to display my resident ID. Obviously, I don't have one. I don't live there. So I just told him exactly that. I don't live here. I'm just on a run. Well, he didn't like that. He pulled his security car a little too close to me, and he firmly told me I had to leave or I would get trespassed, and that this was a private community. So fine, whatever. I was already working my way out. So I said sorry I didn't realize, and told him I was leaving anyhow. He then proceeded to follow me the whole way to where I left the development. I thought the whole interaction was odd and out of the ordinary. Didn't see any signs when I was running. And the whole development doesn't have a gate. Plus, I saw people driving in and out of that side road. And the main road with zero issue didn't seem private to me. So, when I got home, I looked into where I was running. It's a very expensive neighborhood. They have security and a sign at the main entrance that says, "Private property. No trespassing." Well, oops, that wasn't at the side entrance. I dove into the county GIS data as well as their road map that shows which roads are public dedicated/maintained. Turns out, all of the roads in the neighborhood are public access and owned by the county itself, just like any other road, so anyone can use them. I called the county office, which was surprisingly helpful, and they confirmed that yes, all of the roads in the community are owned by the county and open to the public. Turns out there's even greenways in there that the general public can use. So, it seems like this community has that no trespassing sign and security guards as some kind of bluff to keep people out and deter crime. I also assume those LPRs are also some kind of security measure that alerted that guard that I had run into the community. My legal question: did this security guard do something illegal by giving me a hard time for running on a public road? As far as I know, it would be official suppression. I'd love to run there again. It was a nice area, especially if there are nice public trails that my tax dollars are funding. So, assuming I can based off of what I had found, and the county itself saying I was in the right, what's the best way to tell their mall cops to pound sand? I don't feel the need to put in the effort to elevate things right now, but if I am given a hard time again, might as well put the mall cop in his place. How would you handle this? Comments. Commenter 1. Since the roads are owned by the county, you have every right to run on them, resident of the neighborhood or not. Next time you're running there and security shows up, advise him you're on county property, not private property, and if he continues to harass you, call the police. Reply. Makes enough sense. Especially given what I know now, I guess I can save like screenshot of the GIS map or something just in case. It just seems like they have this expensive facade of security that I'd assume their HOA and residents pay for to keep people out of the neighborhood. But it's all public, even their greenways. It's wild that they would spend money on that stuff to try and keep people away from roads and trails that the public pays for. So only they can use it. But then again, rich people love stealing taxpayer money for their own benefit. So it's on brand. Commenter 2. If you want to push the point, print out the county's map as well as the text roadway inventory map and carry it with you on your next run. You're on a public roadway in remarkably similar situation. There's a gated community in ETX that has an HOA and co-contiguous city. This city exists so they can't be annexed by a neighboring city. The guard shacks are on a little sliver of HOA property, but the streets are public roads per TxDOT and county. I came to the conclusion that since they're public streets, they can't stop me from driving on them. So that's what I did. Security was mad, but nothing happened at the end of the day since it was a public street. Reply. Yeah, I mean that situation seems basically the same thing I had to deal with. Security is literally just there to intimidate people from being in the neighborhood. Commenter 3. Private security has no power over you. They cannot put hands on you. They can only observe and report. You have no requirement to stop, talk to them, or provide ID. All they can do is call the cops, but you have to be breaking a law. Flip them the bird. Exercise your right to remain silent and keep running. Commenter 4. I would just tell them that it's listed as a public road and you'd like to know what basis they have for saying you can't run there. If you're confident of their inability to do anything, You could give them a business card with your contact information and go back to running. Maybe you could recruit a group to run with you. Stories number 12. Is it me, or is this problematic? First, I'd like to say that if I'm wrong, I'll accept it. I'm older, and I know that a lot has changed, even from a few years ago when I got hitched. Here's the issue. My husband's niece is getting married, and I just learned this 3 days ago. The wedding is on October 31st. We did not receive an invitation, a text message, a FB or Instagram message. Nothing. We heard about it when my partner's parents were here for dinner. The wedding is at 8:30 a.m. in a town 2 hours from here. The family has rented a huge Airbnb with only 2 bathrooms for the bride, groom, wedding party, and family. We would be sleeping on the sofa. The mother of the bride is offended when I said I'd be getting a hotel if I go. I mean, we haven't been invited at this point. Partner called mother of the bride his sister. She says there's no dress except dark academia costumes. I own nothing in this aesthetic that fits these days, and it's a little late to buy anything. The venue the couple has chosen does not allow weddings, so they have booked it for a business meeting, even though the bride will show up in long white wedding gown. There's a very real possibility of the entire event getting kicked out of the venue, and the family thinks that would be absolutely hysterically funny. Am I the crazy one? I don't want any part of this and can think of a dozen things I'd rather do on Halloween than get up early in the morning and get kicked out of a venue. We technically have not received an invite, but the bride's mother was clear that she'll be offended if we don't attend. I can sit this one out, right? Edit. I just woke up and am a little overwhelmed at how many replies I have. I will read them all after coffee, briefly. Though the question was, does this count as an invitation? The overwhelming response is that, even with fairly relaxed rucks errand these things, it doesn't, and that's a huge relief to me. Second, several people have asked how my husband feels about this. He seems to think it's perfectly normal. He absolutely lands to attend. And finally, for the person who said I'm expressing obvious disdain for the couple, that's not true. I barely know them. I've no problem with a wedding that wants people to come and code them. And if my brief Google search is any indication, it's a look I could really get behind. But not in a week and a half, unless you doubt that. Hubby's niece attended my wedding in a very cute steampunk/burlesque outfit. And my 80-year-old dad wore his old bagpiper's regalia when he walked me down the aisle. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You haven't been invited? Definitely. If you do get an invitation, just say you already have plans. It's less than 2 weeks away. Reply. It feels so haphazard, supposedly. Today's phone call counts as an invite, but I'm super disinclined. The mother of the bride isn't the bride. Last I heard, commenter 2. If you don't want to go, can I? I don't know what dark academia is as a dress code, but I doubt it's business casual. So how are they going to sneak the wedding party into the non-wedding venue? Serious answer. You haven't been invited, so no. Don't make plans to go, or do and live post everything. Reply. She's going to wear a legit wedding gown. Does she think no one will notice, I wonder? Also, the bride is painfully shy, so I'm confused why she would want this. Commenter 2. Does she want this? Does she even know? Sounds like her mom/family are the ones doing the planning. Reply. She's a remarkably passive person and her mom is not. I don't know if she's even capable of saying what she wants or needs. She's super shy, so I could see her just going along to keep the peace, then having a miserable time at her own wedding. Or I could be projecting how I would feel. Commenter 3. I mean, you aren't actually invited. You are hearing details from everyone else who assumes you are, but no invite from the bride and groom. I think that gives you an out, I'd say. Directly to the bride and groom, not continuing the game of telephone with other people, and bypassing the drama. I'm so sorry. I never got an official invite, so I assumed you were keeping it small, like lots of couples do now, and didn't think twice about it. I only knew I was invited after phone call date, and unfortunately have a conflict I cannot get away from. I'm so sorry to miss it. I can't wait to catch up and see all the photos. I'd then send a gift and heartfelt card and happily sit it out. Reply. Thank you. It's where I'm leaning. I could sleep in. Read a book. Hand out candy. Commenter 4. This is insane enough that I'm torn between go just to see the chaos unfold and do not even dignify this with a response, let alone consider going. With that said, though, I'm really curious to hear what your husband thinks since it's his family. Is he planning to go? Or is this entirely up to you? Does he also think this is crazy? Reply. They are all acting as if this is totally normal. But he says that his sister mother of bride also had a ton of drama surrounding her wedding, so maybe they thrive on the chaos. He is definitely going, with or without an invite. I'm leaning towards a peaceful weekend with my cats. And everyone hear us 100% validating me. Commenter 5. Everything about this wedding sounds nuts. I'd pass. There is no way the venue is going to allow that if they have explicitly stated no weddings. Reply. For me, that's the worst part. It feels incredibly disrespectful and entitled. What is dark academia? Reply, I googled it. And it's sort of goth meets British school. I'm older. So I guess dressing like I was Wednesday Addams' teacher. Update. First, you'll have to understand that this is taking place through the lens of my husband, who thinks weddings are boring and that his mother and sister can do no wrong. I am at the age where an appointment with one's cardiologist takes precedence over nearly anything else. I kept that appointment. Mother of the bride called at about noon on the 30th to ask if we would be attending the rehearsal dinner. We didn't know there was one. Husband decided to drop everything and go. The family had not selected a restaurant nor made reservations. They all ended up driving from place to place until they found somewhere able to seat 12 plus a baby. And they ended up at what I consider one of the worst restaurants on the Oregon coast. After dinner, Mob and Grandma of Bride were affronted that husband had booked a hotel. Rather than staying at the Airbnb they had booked where he would have had to sleep on the couch and share a bathroom with 12 other people. I had a BLT for dinner and watched 2 episodes of Slow Horses with my cat. Very nice, Halloween. The entire wedding party and entourage had to get up ungodly early for their meeting, which was reserved for 0800 to 1000. It was raining hard and the entire party got soaked just getting from the parking lot to the car. There was a total of 14 people there for the meeting, including the baby, which cried the whole time and was not taken out to the hallway. The bride wore a T-length black dress. The groom wore a shirt with a collar and chinos. Most guests did not do anything like dark academia. I think that's unfortunate, because the bride really wanted that. However, with the short notice, and with the average age of guests being well over 60, I'm not surprised. Love the look. I think I could really get into it. The ceremony was brief and was followed by a buffet breakfast. Staff at the venue were extremely polite. But afterward, the groom was pulled aside and cordially invited to never come back, as was the MOB. Only problematic because the groom would really like to work there someday. I did my cardio appointment and had a pleasant lunch in war-ravaged Portland with a friend. Overall, it sounds like everything went as smoothly as could be expected. While I absolutely love weddings, I'm glad I sat this one out. We never received an invitation. Mob and Grandma of the bride are offended I wasn't there, but I think that's a them problem, not a me problem. Thank you all for your lively, scathing, and witty responses to my original post. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. This story feels so Oregon. It's like I can imagine a lot of people I know doing shit like this. I mean, I kind of did a last-minute wedding too, but I didn't invite anyone. Glad you had a good time. Reply, so Oregon. Commenter 2. Oh, I bet that BLT was delicious. The rest of the story is, too. Now I'm trying to imagine what Thanksgiving will be like with this crowd. Commenter 3. And this is where I would schedule a much-needed appointment with endoscopy or the dentist or orthopedics. Anything to be able to stay home. Reply, even better. We are having our hardwood floors refinished and have to move out. Furniture, pets, humans, everything. For 2 weeks. Gosh. I won't be able to host Thanksgiving or Christmas. Bummer. OOP on her own wedding theme. Reply. For my wedding 9 years ago, I wanted people to dress from any time period in history that they liked. But I gave 10 months advance notice, and also let guests know that costumes were admired but not required. People had a blast. It was a wild and eclectic party, and I was surprised at some of the people who got into it. My dad, who was about 75 at the time, wore his old bagpiper's uniform, and my husband sported a white Zoom suit. Stories number 13. AITA for asking my sister-in-law what she's doing with her degree after she implied my university wasn't prestigious enough. Last night, my husband, our 2-year-old daughter, and I were at my in-laws. My sister-in-law and her husband and kids were there too. The topic of one of their cousins' kids going to university came up. We talked about how going to a good university helps in networking. I mentioned how I had gotten my first business analyst job because my interviewer had also gone to U of T. At this point, my SIL chimed in with U of T Mississauga, right? So not the actual one. My husband said politely that it's the same thing, and she just shrugged. I asked her where she went. She said she went to U of T and added ST, George campus. I then asked how she's using her degree. I knew she's a SOM, so that's why I'm here. That might have been an thing to say. She said she chose to be a SOM mom and kind of stopped talking to me. My husband thinks I was out of line. Admittedly, I didn't think it through when I said it. Just said what came to my mind. He says her question was tactless, but not malicious. I said it was rude, and that's what mattered. And the premise of it was just wrong, but I have been reconsidering it. She has texted him about how out of line I was. He's told her it was a misunderstanding between everyone and to let it go. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. She had something to say about the campus you went to and was 100% being rude because she felt like hers was better. And your question was valid. What is she doing with her degree? She sounds like one of those people who like to talk about everyone but can't stand when it's someone gives it back. Commenter 2. ANTA. The U of T thing might not make sense to a lot of Redditors. The St. George campus is the main one, while Mississauga and Scarborough can be seen as lesser, which is what the SIL was likely implying here. Yes, OP went low, but really only after the SIL did first. Commenter 3. NTA. I will always hate people who can dish it out but not take it. She wanted to put you down and couldn't deal with the clapback, in my opinion. Rude is only the person who started it. Sure, we could all be perfect adults and be above it all, but that's just going to reinforce the rude behavior. Your husband is like those teachers that will turn a blind eye until the bullied kid fights back. Commenter 4. NTA. Not the actual one, is the clincher. It was passive-aggressive and she knew what she was doing, not an innocent question. If someone's going to be rude to you, then they should expect it back. I don't think what you said was any worse and you're under no obligation to just sit there and take it. Stories number 14. AITA for ruining a bachelorette party and subsequent wedding? I guess I should ask, are we the assholes? Because it's about my girlfriend and me. Some background. Katie 27F and I 27M have been together since college. Katie was best friends with Jessica 27F since freshman year, after we graduated. My oldest friend, Ben 28M, moved to our city. We introduced Jessica and Ben. They hit it off, and they are getting married in a few weeks. Jessica asked Katie to be a bridesmaid in her family. The oldest sister is always the maid of honor, so that's why Katie was an MOH. But since Jessica's sister lived on the other side of the country, Katie would end up being the de facto MOH and doing all the MOH duties. Ben asked me to be his best man about 4 months ago. Jessica asked Katie if she could lose some weight for the wedding. Everyone else in the bride's party are sizes 2 or 4. Now, Katie is not big. She's a size 8. She also had an eating disorder in her teens, which Jessica is fully aware of. And it took her years of therapy and self-love to have a healthy relationship with food and her body. Katie apparently responded, "Oh, okay," mostly out of shock, but told me she had no desire to fall back into a cycle of starving herself, so others were more pleased with her appearance. Then, 6 weeks after that, Jessica confronted Katie about not taking her weight loss request seriously and told her she was being demoted to a regular guest, so the wedding party was more uniform and aesthetically pleasing. I confronted Ben, but he did the whole "it's her special day" and "happy wife, happy life" bullshit at this point. Katie wasn't even sure if she was going to go to the wedding, but insisted I stay the best man. A few weeks after that was a mutual friend's birthday party. This would be the first time Katie and Jessica would be in a room together since the demotion, and while Katie hoped Jessica would pull her aside and apologize, instead Jessica didn't even acknowledge Katie all evening. The next day, Ben called me to say Jessica thought Katie made the party so awkward and she doesn't want that at her wedding. So Katie is uninvited, since they've already paid for Katie's meal. I could bring a +1, but it obviously couldn't be Katie at this point. I stepped down as best man and told them I wouldn't be attending because it was hypocritical for them to expect me to celebrate their relationship when they couldn't even respect mine. But here's where Katie and I may be the AHs. Katie organized the whole bachelorette party, which was taking place in a nearby island country. When she made the group booking at the resort and spa, she paid a deposit and had to keep her card on file until everyone arrived and paid their share. She emailed Jessica that since she wasn't attending anymore, to please have someone else put their card on file to secure the booking and provided all contact details. She texted her to say she sent an important email and was left on read. She texted her again a few days later asking if the card was replaced and was left on read again. A few days after that, she texted Jessica that she had 48 hours to sort it or she'd cancel the booking. Katie was very concerned that Jessica would be petty enough to tell the venue to just charge back the entire cost to the card on file. So that's why Katie wanted her card off the booking. Katie called the resort 48 hours later, discovered her card was still on file, and she canceled the booking when the party arrived. There was no hotel booking for them and no available rooms on the island they could afford, so they had to change their flights and fly home the same day. We're getting blamed for ruining the party. Even though Katie made the consequences very clear, since then, a bridesmaid and the new best man have both dropped out after hearing what really happened. So we're getting all the blame for their wedding being ruined. So, are we the AHs? Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, as the bride decided to demote, then ghost her MOH. She can't expect MOH duties from the uninvited guest. You didn't ruin anything. And even if you did, it was only the bachelorette, not the wedding itself. Commenter 2. About 4 months ago, Jessica asked Katie if she could lose some weight for the wedding. NTA. Jessica ruined her own wedding by even thinking this was an acceptable request. Aesthetics are more important than friendship? These types of brides will always blame everything on someone other than themselves. Katie gave them plenty of notice to remove her card, and they didn't pay attention or took for granted that Katie would remain a pushover. Good for her for standing her ground, and good for you for stepping down as best man. Commenter 3. NTA. They're assholes. They treated your partner awfully. And Katie went way above and beyond with multiple chances to change the card on the reso. Enjoy the rest of your life as these repellent people fade into the rearview mirror. Commenter 4. Elmeo, honestly, I hope things just keep getting worse for the happy couple. It's the only way they might consider that it's a consequence of their own behavior. Oh wait, no they won't. Assholes never think they are the problem. You and your girlfriend are NTA. Just sit back and watch the karma train wreck. ETA. The fact that Katie gave multiple warnings about the booking was more than I would have given. She should have just canceled it straight up. Stories number 15. AITA for insisting my niece is co-flower girl with my fiance's niece. My fiance and I are planning our wedding. She comes from a large family. She has 5 sisters, most of them have kids. 4 of her sisters are her bridesmaids. 1 is serving as maid of honor. I come from a smaller family, just my parents, my sister and my niece, Bryn. Bryn is 3 years old and pretty much my best pal. I'm her godfather. I love her to bits. I didn't care when my fiancé didn't choose my sister to be a bridesmaid, and likewise my sister was cool with it. I did feel some sort of way because I have all 4 of my fiancé's brother-in-laws in my wedding party at fiancé's request, but ultimately, it's her side of the party. She can do what she wants. Then it came time to pick the younger roles in the wedding. Her older nephews are junior groomsmen. The younger is the ring bearer. She only has 1 niece, Aubrey, who's 4. My fiancé wants her to be the flower girl. I said that's fine, but I also want Bryn to be one. They can walk down the aisle together. It'd be super cute. Bryn loves playing with Aubrey, so they get along. My fiancé says she wants our wedding to be traditional, so there can only be 1 flower girl. I suggested Bryn could hold a sign or something while Aubrey threw flowers. My fiancé said no. She can sit with my sister and parents. At this point, I insisted and said Bryn would be flower girl. I texted my sister and asked. She agreed. My fiancé got pissed, and I said it's my day too. Bryn means a great deal to me, and she'll be in the wedding. My fiancé and Aubrey's mom are mad at me, saying I'm stealing Aubrey's spotlight. AITA? Comments. Commenter 1. Info. Are you two getting premarital counseling to do a general inventory on how you two agree or disagree on other issues? Because I have a sense that if you two did get such counseling, there would be a lot more issues uncovered. Reply. We don't have that planned. Maybe a good idea. Commenter 2. It's a great idea. Couples before getting married really need to hash out exactly how they feel about things like money, raising kids, how to handle parents when they get older, etc. Commenter 3. NTA. Just an observation. Your fiancé sees this as her wedding, not our wedding. Honestly, if it were me, and I'm maybe just way too petty, I would tell her that either Bryn is in as co-flower girl, or none of your fiancé's brothers-in-law are groomsmen, just replace them with friends or co-workers. But again, just an observation. If this is your fiancé's reaction, good luck, buddy. Commenter 4. For real. She already took over both halves of the bridal party. So the least she can do is give him a co-flower girl, commenter 5, NTA. Can you try to talk to your fiancé about give and take? Does she not like your sister? Something seems off here, and it may go on in your family life. Reply, she likes my sister, and I know my sister likes her. They're not close, but get along. My fiancé has had some jealousy issues with Bryn. I am not as close with Aubrey, mainly because we don't see her much. My fiancé also feels I'm too close with Bryn. My sister is a single mom, her husband passed, and I'm the only male role model in Bryn's life. I go to her ballet recitals, taught her how to ride her trike, babysit her overnight. It never interferes with time with my fiancé, but she thinks it's weird, commenter 6. She's jealous of a 3-year-old? That's a red flag OP. I suspect after the wedding she'll feel emboldened to alienate you from spending so much time with your niece. You're an involved uncle, which is wonderful, especially since niece's father is deceased. Your fiancé sees this bond as a threat to her time with you and will want to push Bryn out, especially if you have kids. Carefully think if this relationship should move forward with marriage. Update. Okay. Wow. Did not expect this to blow up the way it did. Thank you to everyone who reached out this morning. My fiancé and I sat down to talk about the wedding in general. I brought up Bryn and Aubrey. My fiancé just kept parroting its tradition. Let Aubrey have the spotlight. She shot down compromise after compromise. Aubrey walks first. Bryn blows bubbles or holds a sign, etc. Finally, my fiancé was honest. She doesn't want Bryn in our wedding because Bryn has Down syndrome. She said everyone will be looking at her, taking pity, etc. Turns out it wasn't about a spotlight on Aubrey. But my fucking fiancé, I told her to fuck herself, called her ableist, and said don't worry. There won't be a spotlight to steal anymore because there's no wedding. I've left our apartment, staying at my sister's and playing with Bryn. My phone has been blowing up with texts and calls from my fiancé. Magically, she's ready to compromise now. I need time, but am likely done. Y'all were right. Comments. Commenter 1. I have a cousin with Down syndrome, and she is the most wonderful kid, and she's brought so much joy to our family. I would absolutely view it as a deal breaker if my future spouse said something like this. I'm so sorry and cannot imagine how heartbreaking this is for you. But I think you've made the right decision, and thank God you found out about her true character now, before you got married. Commenter 2. She wants a wedding, not a marriage. NTA, the update made me gasp and gave me all the ick. First of all, terrible of her to feel like that about any 3-year-old, let alone your niece who you obviously adore. Second of all, it's your wedding too, so for most of the wedding party members to be her side, it's a performance more than anything. Finally, weddings can bring to light differences you never thought were there, because for lots of couples, it's the first big event you plan together and have to make tons of decisions and compromises. If she can't compromise on your only niece being a flower girl, do you really think she'll compromise or even just take your opinion into consideration about big life decisions later on? Stories number 16. What is wrong with some men? Is this what dating is like nowadays? So I 41F recently started getting back into the dating scene after being with my husband for 13 years. Married 10, I uncovered infidelity shortly after our 10th anniversary. In the process of separating, I've gotten quite a few matches on dating apps. But I see so many red flags when messaging that few of them move beyond that. There was one guy, however, that seemed different from the rest. He had emotional intelligence. He seemed supportive and the conversation was engaging. We've been messaging for a couple of months already. We've met for coffee a few times, and I feel like we really clicked. It was his idea to take it slow. But we would text extensively about what we liked and what turned us on and what not. We finally decided to meet up and take it to the next level. I showed up. We started making out. I started going down on him. We were both really into it. Then this motherfucker slaps me hard across the face with absolutely zero warning or prior conversation about it. I know this is some people's kink or whatever, but I wish he would have mentioned it beforehand. Because then I would have told him not to even play slap me, because I grew up with a violent father and my instant reaction to getting hit is to hit back, which is exactly what I did. As soon as he slapped me, I immediately slapped him back and shouted, "Do not." As he stood there looking stunned, I just grabbed my stuff and stormed out. Had him blocked by the time I got to my car. Who the hell thinks this is acceptable? My cheek is still red and there's a small bump. This wasn't like a little tap. This was a hard slap with force behind it. Is this what people do these days? What the actual fuck? Ladies, has anyone had any success getting back into dating in their 40s? I'd like to hear some positive stories, please. Ugh. Comments. Commenter 1. Good on you for slapping him back. I don't know what goes through their head to not even discuss it first. I had an ex put his foot on the back of my neck, and that killed any desire I had to do it with him. Commenter 2. I keep reading these stories, and honestly, what the fuck is wrong with men? The men are not lonely enough. Commenter 3. Bold move to slap someone when they have your dick in their mouth. Reply. The slap back was just an automatic reaction and not a conscious decision. Or else I would have definitely done something worse if I had thought about it. Commenter 4. Unfortunately, I've heard a lot of stories similar to yours lately. It seems like being rough and violent has become some kind of default to men because porn? I don't know. Being slapped and choked used to be something that didn't just happen by default. But it seems like in the last decade it's become so commonplace that men just expect to be allowed to do it. It's absolutely not acceptable. I'm so sorry. Stories number 17. IF26 got a message saying my husband M28 is cheating on me. The message was from his ex-girlfriend's best friend. So bit of background. He and I have been together 6 years. We have a pretty solid relationship, never get into arguments with each other. He's very open and will openly express how he's feeling or what he's thinking, and we are always on the same page of things. Before we got together, husband lived across the country about 4 states away. We met because of a work course, and we hit it off right away. So kept in touch for the next year via text until he decided he wanted to be with me. So he transferred his job over to the city I lived in. We've been together ever since, and things have been dandy. A year before we dated, husband dated this chick Charlene for about 2 years until she left him. I knew about her, but have never met her or even given her a thought until a few months into our relationship when husband received a text from her. Charlene texted him to say she thinks I hacked into her social media profiles. He asked her why this was, and she didn't give much of a reason other than to say she's been hacked. So I handed over my devices to husband to show him I definitely did not hack into any of her profiles. I don't even know how to do that. So he texted her saying sorry, but it wasn't me, and he didn't know who it was, and that was that. Then a few days later, husband started getting weird texts and calls from people he didn't know, saying odd, vulgar things. We didn't know why till his friend told him Charlene posted a status with his phone number saying, "This person has hacked into my profiles and is stalking me." Husband doesn't have her on social media, so he had no idea. Nothing really came of it. He managed to block the numbers, and thankfully the harassment didn't last. Flash forward to 5 years now. And we haven't heard from or about Charlene at all, and promptly forgot about it. Husband's sister just had a baby in the town husband originally came from Slash, where Charlene lives, and since he hasn't been there in like 6 years, we decided to go down to see his family. We go down, and everything is cool. He reaches out to some of his old pals to say hey, and we meet a few of them. Over the next few days, I get random friend requests from girls I don't know, 2 girls who are from this small town. It shows husband isn't a mutual friend with any of them, and I ask him who these girls are, and he says he doesn't really know. But one seems familiar, and he might have gone to school with one. I think it's weird and just delete their requests. Then the next night, I get a message request on Instagram. It's from a different girl I don't know that also lives in this town. She straight up tells me she knows my husband from childhood, and he's been messaging her on Tinder. She sends me screenshots of my husband messaging her saying he's around and wants to hook up or something. I immediately show my husband of course, and right away he drops what he's doing and hands me his phone unlocked. Tells me that isn't him, and he wants me to go through his phone so that I feel reassured. I go through everything, messages, Instagram, social media, etc. I look at his apps. There's no Tinder. I go to his search bar. Still no Tinder. He opens his app store to show me it's not downloaded. He downloaded Tinder and entered his phone number into the login from where I'm from. If you go to login and type in your number, it just sends you a code to login with, and it didn't have his number registered. We look at the messages again, and he recognizes the girl as one of Charlene's best friends from college. Now, there are a few odd things with the Tinder screenshots this chick sends me. It says husband's account is verified with a little check mark. His profile picture on Tinder is a really old one from his brother's Facebook, like 3 or 4 years old. His brother is the only one still friends with Charlene on Facebook, and it's the only lone photo of husband on brother's profile. It's a photo husband actually hates because he's not smiling and he has his tongue out, but his brother keeps it up anyways to bug him despite husband asking him before to delete it to no avail. The way husband talks in the Tinder screenshot is a bit different than how he usually texts to me in general. It's very expressive, hey, how are you? Remember me? And he usually doesn't type like that. But here's the one thing that's just weird that makes me feel uneasy. The message exchanges on Tinder are throughout the day gradually and not back and forth right away. It just happens that whenever husband replies, it was the only 2 times we weren't together during the day. Like this, husband at 2:30 p.m. Hey, how are you? Remember me? Girl. Yeah. Hey. What's up? Husband at 4:54, not much, just visiting my sister. So at 2 o'clock I had ran to the grocery store and was texting husband what I should grab for his sister's house. That's why I know the time. At 4-ish we arrive at sister's, and after helping with supper husband uses the bathroom. He's not in there long, but I send him a text with the poop emoji to be silly. That was at 4:53, so the fact that it's around the same times where I'm not around him is unnerving. Though the screenshots show they talk for longer after, but I can't see the times for the rest of the convos, and frankly, I don't want to message this girl and ask for more because it all seems sketchy. Anyways, husband has never really been on his phone in general this whole trip. So it's not like I see him sitting in the corner constantly texting. The people we met up with from his school the other day are close friends with Charlene and girl who messaged me. So they could have easily told them we were there and we were visiting his sister. It's a bit of a weird coincidence that this girl who's friends with Charlene happens to reach out to me while we are down for the first time in 6 years specifically to visit his sister. We also just purchased a condo together 3 days before. And so it doesn't make sense at all why husband would decide to cheat on me now. Not to mention, why would he decide to hook up with Charlene's friend while I'm with him on this trip? Why would he use that super old photo from Facebook that Charlene has access to? Plus, he surrendered his phone immediately and showed me everything once I talked to him. The only thing that rattles my brain is the profile verification and the times the messages were sent. Update. Message this girl saying, "Oh, that's weird because husband actually didn't have his phone on him the last few days since he dropped it." Her response was, "Oh, okay. Welcome." Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Have you ever thought your husband cheated? If not, he seems to be going out of his way to make you comfortable, which shows that he is honest. Ignore the whole situation. These girls are working overtime to mess with you. Keep an eye peeled when you get home, but I'll bet that it's a bunch of nothing. Reply. No. The only thing that totally throws me off is the times on the messages. Charlene has cheated on him back then, and I know it's crushed him. Plus, he's gone out of his way to live with me 4 states away, not to mention plenty of other things. Definitely doesn't make sense that he would cheat. But of course, I don't want to be naive. No spouse wants to believe they are being cheated on. Commenter 2. I think his ex is a psycho trying to ruin his and your life. The verification is easy to fake. You just verify an account, then change the pictures to whoever you want to fake. Commenter 3. Actually, you have to take to live selfies to verify. Commenter 4. Yes, but after that you can change your photos freely. You don't have to verify every time you change your photos. Update. Just really quickly, my last post got capped because I didn't use a throwaway account. For some reason, I thought it didn't matter if I used a throwaway or not, as I don't care if anyone tracked me, but Reddit capped it, so I thought I could use a throwaway account to update it. From what I can tell, this should be allowed, so I guess we'll find out. So it's not too big of an update, but it's enough to definitely confirm my husband is totally innocent and bitches be crazy. So a few days have gone by since that woman messaged me. And I was telling my sister-in-law about the whole thing as we were visiting them last night, and I showed her the messages from that crazy chick. Now in my original, I mentioned how I've been getting follow requests on Instagram from girls I didn't know in that town and just proceeded to ignore them. This is true, but I realized I got a detail mixed up. The woman who messaged me to say husband was cheating had messaged me through Facebook, not Instagram. My bad. So anyways, I show sister-in-law the Facebook message from that girl, and she asks who she is. Husband said he didn't recognize her name at all, but her face seems familiar. So he thinks it must be Charlene's bestie from college. He had only briefly met her once right before the split. Sister-in-law mentions how strange it is that the name is so generic and how there's absolutely nothing on her Facebook profile. The name on the Facebook was something like Sarah Smith, the most generic name out there. Brother-in-law goes to Charlene's Facebook and searches to see they Sarah and Charlene aren't friends on Facebook. We dig through this Sarah chick some more to see there are no friends. No cover photo. No statuses/birthday. Nothing. And it says the Facebook profile was created the day she messaged me. We think it's definitely Charlene behind that account. She specifically made it to reach out and message me. I just never thought to view her profile at all. Someone in the Reddit comments before had mentioned to me maybe those girls on Instagram trying to add me might be fake accounts made by Charlene or her friends. I thought there's no way she would go that far and just thought nothing of it. But maybe they were right. Because it was about an hour after I denied the Instagram followed that Sarah Smith messaged me on Facebook. So, bitches do be crazy after all. I didn't think Charlene would ever take anything that far. Faking Tinder messages. Okay, but also faking a Facebook profile? Y'all were right. I apologized to husband for even feeling the slightest doubt for a second, and he said it was completely fine. He understands completely and doesn't blame me. And if I ever feel uncomfortable about anything, I'm free to ask for his phone or to talk to him. But seeing as in the amount of years we've been together, I never needed to go through his phone, I don't think I'll need to start now. Now it's a good story for us to laugh at. And jokes on Charlene because this just ended up making us closer than before. TLDR, husband is definitely innocent and ex-girlfriends can be crazy. Who would have thought? Stories number 18. AITA for telling my husband I'll go on vacation with the kids and my best friend if he's too busy with work. My husband and I have been married for over 4 years. Our son is 3 and our daughter is 16 months old. My husband has a busy schedule due to both his day job and his business after that, and on Saturdays and sometimes if I'm okay with it. Sundays, we had planned to go to Spain at the end of December for a couple of weeks. Like we've bought tickets, booked a hotel, talked about how we'll spend our 2 weeks there. Last weekend, he asked if we could postpone our trip to the end of June. Like a literal 6 months after we're supposed to go, I said no. It was so unfair that he was pulling this at the last minute. He asked me to understand that his business required him to suddenly change his plans. That it was important, that had been looking forward to this downtime as much as I had. To provide more context, this isn't the first time this has been an issue. His business hours had been an issue over the past 2 to 3 years. He'd made changes and organized his hours better, and his job had become WFH too. So we had struck a balance that I could be okay with. But his business hours again started infringing on our family time. And he'd been promoted to a managerial role at his day job, so he was now going into work on some days too. I told him I'd been looking forward to this for so long, counting days till our vacation. I told him I'll be going regardless whether he wants to come or not. And if he doesn't want to come, we can get a refund and my best friend can go in his place. Admittedly, I was just lashing out. I have no idea of the logistics of it. Yesterday, I asked him again what his plan was. He tried to show me messages from his clients to show how busy he was during that period. I told him I don't care. He gave me his word. According to him, I'm being unreasonable. I wanted to know AITA here. Also, I don't even know if it's logistically feasible and I don't want it to come to it. But would I be the AH if I actually went on vacation and took my best friend along? Comments. Commenter 1. You were talking about next month, right? Unless your airplane tickets are refundable, a postponement would be expensive. You're not allowed to transfer tickets to another person, so your friend will have to buy herself a ticket. Aside from that, it's a 2-week vacation for you to relax a bit with the kids. It's better than sitting at home fuming about a missed holiday. I personally think he is the one being unreasonable. There's no reason for you to stay home, is there? He is upset that he will miss out, so if he can't go, then you can't. That's selfish of him. NTA reply. I figured they wouldn't be transferable. I believe our tickets should be refundable. I haven't checked because I hate thinking about it, and I believe he'll come through. Commenter 2. Our workload fluctuated unpredictably, and something came up just as I was organizing a month of leave. My manager, don't worry that it's not a good time to take leave. It's never a good time, so just go. Breaks are important, and it looks like your husband's priorities could use some tweaking. Commenter 3. NTA. How's he going to feel when both the kids have grown up and he kept rescheduling time with them? When he misses important games and memories? When they stop calling him because he wasn't around anyway? No job that's worth having would even have it a possibility that you'd need to be rescheduling a long-planned vacation. Commenter 4. Info. Does he provide all of the income for the household? How old is his business? Did he break down the difficulties he would be facing with you in pursuing a new business when you married or when he started it? Is he eventually hoping to turn his business into his full-time profession? What is the goal in it? I ask these questions because it really does determine if he is a AH or not. My business is less than 3 years old, and often a new business can require a lot of work. Like a lot. Vacations changing is like one of the most common changes a business owner needs to face. I spoke with my husband before pursuing. Did he speak with you? Reply, no. I also work. I'm an accountant and I have WFH half the week, so like on a 2 to 3 basis. Our income distribution is roughly 75 to 25. His business is about 7 to 8 years old now. He started it in college. And the workload wasn't a problem until a few years ago. I have suggested he make the business his sole work, especially since we'd be comfortable without his day job too. His reasoning has been that because his business hours kind of don't align with a 9 to 5, he wouldn't be making use of those hours anyway, although I have told him that him doing nothing would be the goal. Commenter 4 reply, cool, thank you for answering. So you guys would be good without the other job's income then. If that's the case, then NTA, he's a workaholic. Now I empathize heavily with him as I am also a workaholic, but I let my hubby pull me back when I get too deep. He needs to let you pull him back as well. Update. AIDA for speaking up about what I saw my brother doing with his girlfriend. I'm sorry if this is not the lengthy conclusion you expected, but I am going to be brief for the privacy and safety of the girl and any future action she decides to take regarding this. This was not a product of a prior agreement between her and my brother. The calls from her mom were the response to a call she made to her earlier that night when she was out with my brother and experienced abnormal effects under similar circumstances in the past. My mom and I drove her to the location she chose, and my brother went home in his own vehicle with my dad. I am not making any claims asserting the alleged reasoning or wrongdoing of any party, if any at all. Most importantly, the girl is safe and fully informed of both the occurrences and this post. I cannot make any claims on behalf of my brother, as we are not allowed to contact each other at this time. Per my parents, thanks for all the advice and for understanding. In addition, my parents have revealed details to me regarding the nature of my relationship with my brother in my childhood that they chose to keep from me unless later brought up unprompted by myself for reasons they believe were justified. With that being said, I ask that you please refrain from further speculation regarding what happened between my brother and the girl, things my brother may have potentially done in his past, or about the choices my parents made in their wording or past actions. Remember that these are things that are about and impact the lives of real people. Thank you. Comments. Commenter 1. You are so brave and so smart for speaking up. I don't care what your parents' dads say. You overstepped nothing. You did exactly what all women who have been raped have wished someone would have done. But I also understand what your parents are feeling. Their own son doing something like this is really difficult to term with. It's a sad situation, and I hope your brother stops. If not, I hope you have the strength to keep women informed. Commenter 2, your NTA. Thanks for your update on this and the girl's safety. Will your mom support you over this situation? Because your brother's girlfriend was raped by him when he knew she was in no condition to agree with his actions, and your dad supported him and by not castigating his behavior condoned it. I would suggest you find a way to find a safer place to live because with your dad's attitude, it's an unsafe home with your brother. Stories number 19. Ada for refusing to take down my post and letting my ex face the consequences of her cheating. I was with my ex K for 2 years and living together since a year. To make all the drama short, I found out she was having an affair since 6 months with her boss. I found out about it and broke up with her on the spot. Kay didn't even try to justify or denied and just moved out. I wish you the best and best of luck with this tricky lifestyle. Reply, I do love singing and I will. Thank you, have a good day. Commenter 4, not to armchair diagnose, but this is pretty classic selective mutism stuff. I agree with some other commenters that seeking out therapy to process the trauma you experienced would likely be very helpful for you. This is an anxiety response, but change can only come if you want it, and it sounds like you're fairly content with the way things are right now. If you have a smartphone, I might suggest looking into some AAC apps with voice output. Not everyone understands sign language. Having access to a program that has voice output for you to communicate with as well could be helpful. There are programs available in languages other than English. If you use a different language in your day-to-day, Commenter 5, I was told I was annoying so many times. Yay, undiagnosed ADHD and autism. That I stopped talking, not entirely, but mostly. Speaking put me at risk of being insulted and made fun of. I eventually found my people in my 20s and have mostly overcome it, but I still tend towards silence. I have a 16-year-old now, so I say this with full empathy and maternal care. Find a therapist, or a trusted adult to work through this. I am wishing you all of the best. Stories number 21. My 38M wife 36F wants to sleep with other people because I'm not exciting, but I pay for everything and handle the kids TLDR. Wife wants to open marriage. I am devastated and considering divorce. Maybe it's over. Me 38M and my wife 36F have been together for 12 years, married for 9. We have 2 kids, 7 and 4, and like a lot of couples with young kids, the last few years haven't been easy. I work full-time in IT, and the main breadwinner, handle most of the kids' stuff in the mornings, and try to give her space in the evenings because she says she's burned out, drinks wine, and on the phone. We have had basically a dead BR. Not because I don't want it, but because she said that she needs more from me. And I've tried. We have done some couples therapy. I tried inviting her to date nights, she flakes, mentioned sexy outfits or games, even a stupid TikTok challenge I thought might help. It's been a while now. I feel like I'm trying and she's not, at all. 3 nights ago, she sits me down and says, "You're not exciting me anymore. I need more. I want to explore. I think we should open the marriage." I was shocked. I asked her if this meant she already had someone in mind. She said no, but then couldn't look me in the eye at all. I don't check her phone and never have. Always trusted her. But she's been weird lately and protective of the screen, walking into the other room more, laughing at messages and saying, "It's just dumb work stuff." She's mentioned a coworker several times now, Brian. I've met him once and didn't like him the vibe. I didn't like how they interacted and something felt off. I said, "You want to sleep with other people because I'm not exciting?" She said, "No, that's not fair. I just want something more. We can both explore." Then she added, "I still love you. I just want different experiences." I told her no, obviously not. I'm not going to support our entire life while being treated like some placeholder she's bored of. I'm not your husband until something more exciting shows up. Now she is saying that I'm selfish and close-minded, that this is about sexual growth, and I'm too rigid. I'm selfish? For not wanting to be the loyal, exhausted man supporting her personal journey. While Brian from accounting makes her giggle at 10 p.m., I strongly suspect some of this idea is coming from her BFF. She just got divorced for the 3rd time, tried an old open marriage before, which is what blew up her second go-round, and has been a serial cheater. UGH, I want to make this work for the kids, but I feel like I'm at the end of my rope here. I don't know if it's time to throw in the towel or what. Edit a few hours since posting. Wow, I didn't expect this to get this kind of attention. I really appreciate all your comments. I will read every one. To say it's been a surreal night is an understatement. Some have been hard to read, but so much has helped. Maybe more than anything, just to get out of my own head. I'm not making any big decisions tonight. The kids are asleep. My wife's out with friends, and I'm home alone. Just processing it all. Trying to figure out what to do next. But the message is loud and clear. Get a lawyer, STD tests. She's probably fucking Brian. Thank you, everyone. I will update at some point. Comments. Commenter 1. You set the example for your children on what a healthy relationship looks like. If you continue this unhealthy relationship for the kids, what you're really doing is building a reality in their minds on what to look for in a relationship in the future. The greatest kindness you can do for them in the long term, though it may suck in the short term because they are too young to understand, is show how to stick to their core values and seek relationships with people who share and respect those values. You tell them it's okay to be single or start over. You show them you don't have to be trapped in unhappiness. I went through so many unhealthy relationships because I didn't have a clue what a healthy relationship looked like, and I didn't have the self-respect to leave when I should have. Leave for the kids, and don't let anyone gaslight you any differently. Reply. This got me. I've been so caught up trying to hold it together for the kids. I haven't really thought about anything else but staying for them. I don't want them to grow up thinking this kind of love is normal. Thank you for this. It's exactly what I needed to hear today. Commenter 1 reply. It will be hard when they're young and they just want mom and dad to be together in an uncomplicated life. But I promise if you weather that storm and really work to show them either how it looks to take care of yourself solo, a skill I never learned, or find a partner who treats you well and with respect, it's a kindness you're doing for their adult lives. It's really important they see what self-respect and or loving, committed partnerships really look like, or they'll repeat the same mistakes without realizing it. Commenter 2. Well, she sounds manipulative. She doesn't sound like an honest person based on the first two. I'll bet that more has already happened. and she just wants to avoid the guilt, so hoping you will go along with it, so she can continue whatever she is already doing. All that aside, you two seem to want different things. I'll bet if she had a full-time job, she would have less idle time/energy to be engaging in such things. But at this point, I highly doubt that is an option. I would do everything required to be emotionally and physically prepared for a divorce. Then, sit her down, tell her exactly what you want from a relationship, and your expectations. If she is not down with it, then proceed to the divorce, and don't let her manipulate you out of it. Because if she really wanted to be with you, you would not have had to reach that point. Everyone uses the kids as the excuse. You know it is just that. An excuse. This is going to hurt and be very messy. Prepare yourself. Make sure you have the emotional and legal support you need before engaging in any of this. Reply, I don't think she's being fully honest either, and I've definitely started wondering if something's already happened. I've spent so much time trying to hold it together. I didn't think I was the only one still trying. Appreciate the advice. I talked to a friend who's a family lawyer. I need to myself just in case. It's not what I wanted, but at this point I have to be real about what's happening. Commenter 3. It's done, mate. She watched one too many TikToks about living her best life and how awesome sex will be. If I was you, I would get a layer and divorce and make sure they are aware of this. But I pay for everything and handle the kids and make sure she pays child support and the like. I still love you. I just want different experiences. No, she doesn't. If she loved you, she would want to explore spicing up her sex life, not f***ing some others. She loves the things you do for her and how you pay for everything and take care of the kids. She wants her cake and to eat it too, as they say. I want to make this work for the kids, the biggest, most stupid mistake married couples do. It never works out and just ends up hurting the kids. It's cooked and done. Commenter 4. You're not selfish for wanting loyalty. You're stable and reliable. The guy holding it all together. Sounds like you've tried to spice it up in the bedroom. 2. She wants the security of your love and income and the thrill of someone else's attention. Talk to a lawyer. Seems to be the consensus here. Reply. This hit hard. I didn't even realize how much I was trying to carry until I saw it written like that. Thank you for saying it straight. I needed that. Stories number 22. What do I do about what I saw my brother doing with his girlfriend? I'm sorry, but I can't stop thinking about having to do something. I 19F live with my parents. My brother 32M and his girlfriend, she's either 21 or 22. I'm not totally sure, live in a town about 15 minutes away. But they stayed with us this weekend for my dad's birthday. My brother and I aren't that close. And I haven't talked much to his girlfriend, but she seems really nice. She's close to my age and goes to the same college as me. So I could actually see us being friends, yeah? The age gap between her and my brother is a little weird, especially when she's almost the same age as me. But he's my brother, so if he's happy. Last night, my brother decided they were going to go out for drinks. My parents were already asleep, and his girlfriend didn't seem super thrilled about going since it was already like 10 or 11 at night. But it wasn't my business, so I didn't say anything. I stayed up doing schoolwork in the kitchen, and I heard them come home around 1:30 or 2 in the morning. When they came through the kitchen to set their stuff down, his girlfriend was absolutely hammered, like, could barely walk straight. Slurring, the whole thing. I asked if she was okay, and my brother said she was fine and that they only had a couple drinks. He seemed like he was trying to rush her downstairs to the basement. That's the room they were staying in. I felt uneasy because she seemed way more drunk than he was letting on. But I brushed it off. About 10 minutes later, I heard a phone ringing on the counter. I didn't pay any mind to it until it kept on ringing. So I got a weird feeling and went to check it. It was her phone. And there were 3 missed calls from mommy. I thought it was weird because I know my mom would never call me 3 times at 2 a.m. Unless it was serious. I debated leaving it. But when it started ringing again, I decided to just take it down to her. I knocked before going down. But since the phone was ringing, and I didn't assume there was reason for concern, I didn't wait long. As I started walking down, I heard some grunting noises that suddenly stopped. Then some rustling. That's when it clicked what was happening. I immediately stopped and apologized and said out loud that I was just bringing her phone because someone was calling a bunch of times. My brother said it was fine and to come down. When I got to the bottom, he was standing there in a towel and looked nervous beyond just embarrassment. His girlfriend was under the blankets on the bed, and from what I could see around her shoulders, she looked naked. She also was 100% asleep or passed out. I doubted what I was thinking for a second. but the smell in the room made it pretty clear what had been going on. I gave him the phone and went right back upstairs. I couldn't stop thinking about it, though. She had been so drunk she could barely stand. While he seemed totally fine, it made me feel really uncomfortable, especially with her being a girl that's basically my age. I didn't know exactly what to do. I didn't exactly see anything happen, but my gut was screaming that something was off, and my mind kept going to the worst. I ended up telling my mom and asking her for advice about what I saw in the morning because I couldn't shake it. Later, my brother came upstairs alone. I said hi, but went straight to my room. I could hear my mom quietly talking to him. And then a few minutes later, he came into my room looking mad. He told me I was making serious stuff up that I didn't understand and that I needed to stay out of his business. I told him I wasn't accusing him of anything, but that I felt uneasy about what I saw, especially because his girlfriend was super drunk and that he has no reason to be mad if it's not the case. I said if I were in her position, I'd want someone to say something. And he would too. That made him even angrier. He told me I didn't know what the hell I was saying. And he went back downstairs when they both did come up. My brother basically refused to let me talk to her at all, and her eyes were very bloodshot, possibly like from crying, but I didn't see very well. So, maybe just from being hardly awake? Then, he rushed them both out, and he said they were going to eat. They've come back since. And his GF very clearly looks like she doesn't want to be anywhere near him. However, she also waved me off when I approached her to talk literally a few minutes ago. But my brother had a weird look on his face. That could just be me, though. I have no idea. My mom later thanked me for saying something. But my dad told me that I might have overstepped since I don't know the full story, don't want to get him in trouble, and would feel bad if I did get him into trouble based off my immature, impulsive reactions. Now I just feel weird and kind of guilty. What does someone do in this situation? I kind of feel like I need to do something, but I obviously can't call the police or anything with what I have. Update. I'm sorry if this is not the lengthy conclusion you expected, but I am going to be brief for the privacy and safety of the girl and any future action she decides to take regarding this. This was not a product of a prior agreement between her and my brother. The calls from her mom were the response to a call she made to her earlier that night when she was out with my brother and experienced abnormal effects under similar circumstances in the past. My mom and I drove her to the location she chose, and my brother went home in his own vehicle with my dad. I am not making any claims asserting the alleged reasoning or wrongdoing of any party, if any at all. Most importantly, the girl is safe and fully informed of both the occurrences and this post. I cannot make any claims on behalf of my brother, as we are not allowed to contact each other at this time. Per my parents, thanks for all the advice and for understanding. In addition, my parents have revealed details to me regarding the nature of my relationship with my brother in my childhood that they chose to keep from me unless later brought up unprompted by myself for reasons they believe were justified. With that being said, I ask that you please refrain from further speculation regarding what happened between my brother and the girl, things my brother may have potentially done in his past, or about the choices my parents made in their wording or past actions. Remember that these are things that are about and impact the lives of real people. Thank you. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm glad you said something. If they break up soon, you'll know you did the right thing. It seems like your brother isn't the type of man you think he is, the age gap thing. Basically raping a woman because obviously when one is drunk and passed out there's no consent happening. He's mad cause he got busted. I wouldn't let him get to you. And really sorry you had to witness that, and I'm also super proud that you followed your gut. Commenter 2. I was repeatedly assaulted through coercion by my ex. We had moved a few states away to be closer to his family due to his grandparents' failing health and were staying with his aunt. I left him before we ever moved out of her house, because once I was isolated from my family and friends he got much worse. It was blatant for everyone to see, and not a single one of them stood up for me. When he threw a chair at me and his aunt asked me what I said to make him do that, my response was I told him that the sexual abuse I'd been experiencing for the last 5 years was unacceptable and that I didn't understand what was happening at the time, but things needed to change or I was leaving. So I guess I'm leaving. She proceeded to throw my stuff at me and scream and call me a skank and accuse me of sleeping with the coworker that had helped me move my stuff out the next day. Some people have blind loyalty and no moral integrity when it comes to defending family members. I'm very proud of you for doing what you thought was right regardless of what the consequences were. Commenter 3. I think you're absolutely right about what went on. He was having sex with his passed-out girlfriend, which is rape. She couldn't consent to sex. And shame on your dad for trying to hide it. You did the right thing telling your mom. But the girlfriend is a grown woman and she needs to make her own decisions. Hopefully she will dump your brother. Commenter 4. Tell your father to fuck off with the may have overstepped. You saw something that greatly concerned you. You referred it to a parent because it seemed a parent's assessment was called for. You expected that a parent would exercise appropriate discretion. You can certainly take a clue here and never share with him in the future any situation where you have a concern. Stories number 23. AITA for not financially helping family and friends, despite being able to? My son Nick was born with a congenital heart defect 17 years ago. It required a $60,000 surgery in Israel if he was to survive past 12 months. I've spent the first 3 months of his life running around, begging people and searching for money. My parents gave us $100. They had well-paying jobs and guaranteed state pensions. When I asked my brother for help, he mumbled something about needing to save for his daughter's college. She never went. By the way, anyone who met her could have told him that much. They did take regular vacations overseas, though. My department of 40 at work donated $30 and a card. At one point, I was seriously searching for ways to sell my kidney and liver. My in-laws sold their apartment for $35,000. Best friend gave me another $7,000, which was all he had. Accepting his help was one of the few times I cried in my adult life. I sold my car and every piece of furniture and electronics that wasn't bolted to the walls. My in-laws moved in, and we've spent the next 5 years living together, 5 people, crammed into a 2-bedroom. Surgery was a success, as fate has it. I started a hustle, and it took off. After years of hard work, I moved our HQ to a Central European country to be closer to our EU clients. Even discounting for about 2/3 of my wealth that is tied up in the business, I am a multimillionaire. My in-laws now have a 4-bedroom house. We pay for them to go on vacations 3 to 4 times a year, or did before 2020. My son is a hard worker who makes me a very proud father. I can't say that I hate those who didn't help back at the day. Hate is a strong word. Rather, I feel like I've learnt my lesson and don't expect anything from them. I don't invite my parents for visits. They are welcome to pay for their flights and a hotel room. But I won't cover their expenses like I do with the in-laws. My brother asked for a loan to start his business 5 years ago. I said the time wasn't right. 2 months ago, his daughter got into a car accident drunk driving. Nothing seemingly life-threatening, but a lot of nasty scarring on her legs that require a costly cosmetic surgery. I suggested he looks into downsizing as I am focused on helping my kids get good education. Old coworkers who wanted to join my business once it took off were told to apply through the regular process, except for my best friend. He's been my partner from the start, and I sleep better at night knowing we've got each other's backs. It comes without saying there have been lots of very unhappy people in my life. In our culture, you're expected to support your community and family. Do favors. Nepotism is very much an ingrained thing. You're supposed to bring over your family if you're lucky enough to root yourself in the Western world. Help friends emigrate. My parents told me to my face they are ashamed of me and how the Western culture has changed me. I've been called many things, way worse than asshole and heartless. After hearing my story, tell me Reddit, am I though? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Does your family know that this is the real reason that you won't help them? If not, what is the point of holding a grudge if the people don't know you are still angry at them? Reply. Many moons ago, I've mentioned to my parents the reason we bought our in-laws' house was to thank them for their help with Nick. Didn't ever come up directly in conversations with my brother. He avoids the topic. Why? Do you think it would change your assessment of the situation if they knew? They can't really time travel back and fix the original issue. We are where we are, truth be told, commenter 2. NTA, but know that by not helping them when you're able, you are doing exactly what they did all those years ago. Will you be happy being that person? Will it make you feel better knowing your niece will suffer in order to teach your brother a lesson? I get not paying for vacations, having former coworkers apply through regular channels. But I hope you reconsider helping with your niece's surgery. Reply. Putting aside the question of my niece, which I'll answer in the next paragraph, I am fine with being that person. I think the family dynamic has been established 17 years ago by them. I will not deny for a minute that I am bitter even after all these years, so while I don't actively think of the situation or try to hurt them, I have already answer when I hear a request for financial support from them, for my niece. I see it differently than you, to be honest. She is 27, so okay. Perhaps not old enough to earn enough to pay for medical expenses, but smart enough to know not to drink and drive. And her parents live in a 3-bedroom by themselves. Why not sell and move further away from the city center to help their child? I see it as this is their child and their responsibility. If they don't fix it, it's because they don't want to. Not because I didn't help. Commenter 3. And A. They're not obligated to help you, and you're not obligated to help them. Don't help them. But your parents comment about, let nature run its course, and instead try for a new baby like, what the fuck do they smoke? Who tells that to anyone? They essentially told you to let your son die and provide them with another grandchild. Should have gone no contact then and there. Nobody needs such people in their lives. Reply. It's very hard to explain this, but it's truly not as horrific as it sounds for people raised and living in that culture. I don't know how to get it across in a just manner. The only very weird analogy that comes to mind is how bone marrow jello is a delicacy in some countries that is served during holidays. And in other cultures, people would have a complete WTF moment if they are told this is food. Commenter 4. And TA, also your best friend, is amazing, brought tears to my eyes to read that he gave you everything he had. That's a true friend, and I'm really glad you guys are successful now. Reply. Well, as his wife once said, thank God we aren't gay. We'd be the most happily married couple on the block, haha. He's a better brother than the one I'm connected to by blood. Commenter 5. Ta. Far left people like AOC who are into socialism would disagree with me though. Reply. Air. God bless you Americans for somehow bringing socialism and your local politics into everything. For what it's worth, I live in a country with nationalized healthcare and strong social safety net, and I am happy to pay my share for it. Edit 1. To those wondering why, my parents had a pretty lukewarm response, if you can even call it that. The surgery had a 40% success rate. They thought we should let nature run its course and instead try for a new baby. It may sound horrendous to Westerners, but it's not that cold of a statement to someone in our home country, but obviously wife, and I didn't take it well. Edit 2. U/Highwaygirl 2004. I will talk to my wife about helping our niece. I stand by what I said. It's on her for putting herself in this position and her parents to help her fix it. So I won't cover the whole cost, but I will ask my wife if we should cover half. The more I think about it, the more I'm leaning towards this being the right answer. Update. AITA for not financially helping family and friends, despite being able to. So, it's been a couple months. I've learnt my lesson not to ask 17-year-old kids on Reddit questions about real life and made some decisions, First, a lot of you did make valid suggestions that I took to heart. I spoke to my parents candidly about why I distanced myself from them. They were clearly ashamed, and I think it's that shame and pride that kept them from reaching out and apologizing years ago. My mom kept her face covered with her hands for most of the call. She was clearly sad. Anyway, I ended up telling them I would never want to see them to go destitute, so if they are in poor health or need help with the basic necessities, I'm obviously a call away. Otherwise, things have stayed the same. Next, about my niece. Here's where I disagree hard with most Redditors. She's a 20-something girl who made a tremendously stupid mistake. She took down a pole driving drunk and will pay for that with her physical appearance and health for the rest of her life. It could have been worse. Thankfully, that's all it was. I talked to her, and as a first step, we paid for her initial scar treatment, some silicone dressings/steroid injections to improve the healing. They can't do the removal surgery until they heal properly and things settle down, so could be another 6 months to a year before they reassess. She asked if I can also help her find a rehab. She wants to pay for it herself. She admitted to having a problem, and I won't go into why she started drinking, but I hope none of the haters have the same reason to turn to a bottle. I also talked to my brother that he's got a year to come up with half the cost of her surgery. If he doesn't come through, we'll have a conversation, but I think the fire is lit under his ass, and I'm covering half for sure. I'll remind people we aren't prosecutors and judges, so when it comes to moral judgments, we should do what we believe is right. I stand by my choices to keep my family at an arm's length, but not let them fall into poverty if it comes to it. And I support my niece is her attempt to better herself. Thanks to everyone who commented and offered advice. Lastly, please don't send me requests for money. I've read every sob story under the sun after my last post. I'm not an idiot. Wasn't born yesterday, and know that any 12 years old with a keyboard can write a mean tearjerker. I offer tremendous monetary support, and my time to local organizations that I can actually see providing support to those in need, so I sleep well at night. Don't bother cursing me out for being heartless. If you're in real need, seek assistance from your local organizations. Best of luck, everyone, and take care. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Good luck to you and your family. I get where you're coming from and don't blame you for keeping your distance with your family. I'm a transplant also, so I get the pressure that comes with that bit. You also have a family of your own to think about. Reply. Thanks. That pressure is real. Commenter 2. Although I didn't see the first post until you posted this with the update, I agree with you on this one. You have made a life-changing event, and you can tell who your friends are and not. TBH, when people hit something in drunk driving, only two things happen. Either they see what they did and turn for help, or they deny it by burying themselves in booze. I fully support you trying to get a start with your parents. NTA. Reply. Thank you for your kindness. Commenter 3. I think what made PPL think you were potentially an asshole last time was that you seemed bitter towards those that didn't help you. And were making those decisions based on bitterness. The thing about acting out of bitterness, as they say, is that it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It sounds like your heart has been in the right place for the most part. And I'm really glad you're helping your niece and that she's getting help. Good work. Reply. Yes, I think I was in a bit of a denial about just how bitter I still was. And probably am. I'm trying to let it go though within reason. Thanks for your words of kindness. Stories number 24. AITA for not babysitting other kids, even though I am a nanny. I 56F have been a nanny to a couple. We'll call them Jenna 29F and Mitchell 32M for a few years now. They have been great people, and I also like the pay since they're fairly wealthy. They give me a big sum, and I also love their kids. They have a boy 4 and a girl 5 who are really sweet, and I look forward to seeing them. On to the problem. Jenna and Mitchell decided to host a party at a restaurant they live close to. No problem for me. I'll watch their kids like usual while they have their fun. They're giving me the rundown on things like the usual, but then something odd they said was, and make sure the kids are ready to be picked up by 9:30 p.m. I thought this was strange, but decided to push it to the back of my mind as they never said previously anything about other kids and only said that one statement. Maybe it was just a slip up. About 20 minutes go by and Mitchell's and Jenna's friends come over to pick them up, I'm assuming. So I go over to meet their friends, and their friends brought all their kids for me to babysit. There was at least 7 kids I saw. I pulled Jenna aside and asked her why their friends expected me to babysit their kids and to just get someone else to babysit them. As I only agreed to babysit her kids, she seemed taken aback and said she thought I wouldn't mind since I don't do anything else with my time anyways. My husband died 11 years ago, so I'm always by myself at home now. Which was true, but this was never part of the agreement. Apparently, all her friends were busy and couldn't come to the party because of their kids, and to save money and time, Jenna just offered to dump all their kids at her place for me to watch. I got angry and said unless she's willing to pay me 7x the amount of money she pays me now. There's no way I'm watching 9 kids for the amount of time that they're gone 8 hours, and I just wouldn't be able to handle it. Her face changed from confused to frustrated and said I should be lucky I'm their nanny at all with the amount of money I'm paid and to be grateful and do this one thing as it's just one night. She just wants to treat her friends to a nice dinner. I was shocked and didn't say anything else and just left their house. Mitchell later called me cussing me out and saying how I humiliated them and embarrassed them with my actions and how they had to cancel everything last minute because of everyone's kids, and I was a selfish, stuck-up, lazy bitch for not doing this one-time thing. I didn't say anything the whole way through until he was done talking and just hung up, and now I'm really wondering if I messed up here. I really like their kids, and they were great people before this incident. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It's just business. You're following the established contract. If they didn't want to be embarrassed, they should have contacted you prior to renegotiate, and by the sounds of it, they don't pay you enough to turn blind eye this once in order to retain the job. Failure to plan on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. Commenter 2. This was no failure of planning. They deliberately lied by omission to try to blindside her into accepting 5 times as much work without extra pay. NTA, those were not the terms you agreed to, and they know it. Reply, yes. And they didn't say anything about hosting a party until that day. So they already set up everything prior to talking to me about babysitting their kids. My guess is they wanted to already be too far into it and didn't tell me about anything, so it would be too late for me to back out. Unfortunately for them, I have 2 legs and can walk myself out of their lives. Commenter 3. They see her as an appliance, not a person. The child watching machine is acting like it has rights. Reply. I didn't even think of it like that. Good point. Wealthy people do have a history of taking advantage of others. Commenter 4. I am so confused. This is a party at a restaurant that lasts 8 hours? Then it ends before 9:30 p.m.? So it starts at 2 p.m.? And then they had to cancel everything because you wouldn't babysit, but they hadn't cleared the babysitting all the children with you ahead of time? That's just weird. If the restaurant and food were booked for an 8-hour time period, probably on a weekend, which would include prime business hours, then the lack of honesty and clarity here is odd. That's too big a commitment. Probably a contract was involved to just collapse. Reply. Sorry for the misunderstanding. When they said they had to cancel, they had to cancel for going/showing up with something that close and how they already booked everything prior. They couldn't cancel the actual even and still paid for everything. So not only did they lose a sitter, but also a lot of money. Commenter 5. Wow. So they booked this big party and didn't give any thought to running the number of children past you? You are NTA. Update, because I'm not sure how to actually update. I didn't expect to be posting an update so soon, as I thought they would both ghost me and we wouldn't talk again and they would find another nanny. I was wrong. Jenna called me this afternoon, hoping for an apology. I picked up. She tried to guilt trip me into babysitting for her kids again, saying how there isn't another one like me and she didn't want a younger nanny because she didn't want the kids latching onto her and calling her mom, and if anything wanted them to think of them as a grandma. What the fuck? She then went on to say she was sorry and she was wrong for doing what she did and wanted me to come and be their nanny again. I let her finish with her rant after she was done talking. I said I was sorry she was that insecure about babysitters her age, and if she was that worried, she should take her head out of her ass and focus on her kids rather than her business. And even though she doesn't respect my time and effort, I do. Told her good luck finding another sitter and blocked her and Mitchell. I'm still having a hard time finding a replacement, but at least I'm free from the entitlement they showed. I most likely would not have said all that and put my foot down if it wasn't for all the comments you guys gave, so thank you. Really downplayed my self-worth as a nanny because I'm a caregiver for years. So the boost really helped. Stories number 25. I don't know if what my dad did to me when I was younger was SA or not. Truly the most humiliating thing of my life. I was taking too long to get ready, and he kept slamming and knocking on my door, and I accidentally squeezed a bottle of toothpaste too hard, making some of it go on the bathroom counter. When he saw, he immediately grabbed me and started beating me with a belt. My shirt came off somehow, and my chest was out. My entire family, including my mother, just watched. On top of that, when I entered puberty, he would constantly comment on my boobs, on my ass, slap my ass frequently. I was taking too long to get ready once, and he made me change in front of him. I don't know. I've never felt anything like that before. It was so embarrassing, and I just felt like a woman, if that makes sense. I remember crying, but not really knowing why. I remember acting weird a few days after and my mom saying she knows something is wrong. He would say that he's my boyfriend as a kid and say how he gets jealous with me. But I watched a lot of porn as a kid, so what if my sick mind just twisted it into something it isn't? He made a comment recently saying how I walk half naked around the house. First of all, it's my blood family me. No other relatives, just my fam. He slapped my ass other times and my mom had to talk to him because it made me fucking grossed out, and I told him to stop several times beforehand. I want to fucking kill him. I wish he would just die already. Please, God, just kill him. Update. I'm 18 and currently just in love with wrestling. Yes. I'm trying to get a job and move out after high school, and season is over. Comments. Commenter 1. Honestly, it sounds like abuse in almost every form. Seeing from a comment, you're 18, I know it's not easy at that age, but I would start planning a way out of there for your own safety and comfort. Commenter 2. How old are you? Please seek therapy if you're old enough and able. It is going to help you understand yourself so much. You deserve so much better. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Reply. I'm 18. Wrestling is my therapy. It takes a toll on me a lot emotionally. I go through this cycle a lot. Shock over what he did. Anger. Then I accept it and forget about it. It drives me insane. This is the 3rd or 4th time. Commenter 3. Damn, that's seriously messed up and not your fault. What he did crosses way beyond any normal boundaries. You're not imagining things. His behavior is straight up abusive and disgusting. You deserve support and to feel safe, not this garbage. Stay strong and consider talking to someone who can help you get through this. Commenter 4. Well, maybe not technically SA, but it's definitely inappropriate. It does sound like he gets off on looking at you, and any touching is just icky. My dad did molest me from just a few days old, nearly every day or night until I was 9. So many things, terrible, violating, embarrassing, confusing, damaging. My mom knew something was going on from the beginning because she had seen blood in my diaper and told my grandma. I told her when he had hurt me really bad when I was 3. He'd shoved it in my mouth so hard that it tore my throat. That's my first memory. I remember we left him, but after maybe like 2 weeks away, we were right back there. He was paranoid schizophrenic and would walk through the house at night with his baseball bat. He'd nail our windows shut and act all stupid. What gets me is that he constantly thought someone was trying to kill him. But he didn't give a shit when he was rubbing his cock on my 4 or 5-year-old vagina. Too bad his psychosis wasn't of some big bikers stomping his head in for touching me. And how my mom never ever came in to stop him makes me feel sick. I know it got loud sometimes because he would perform oral until I was in tears and pushing him away as hard as I could. Once, she actually had the nerve to say to me, "I knew he was touching you, but I didn't know he was fucking you." Like that mattered at all. Even my doctor knew what was happening because I was getting sores, completely gouged. Like a rash so bad it was more like a 2nd and 3rd degree burn, probably from his mustache and his slobber/spit. It hurt so much when I went potty. I remember screaming. The medicine hurt, too. It never stopped him. If I said no, he would cry and act crazy, or worse. He would threaten to hurt my brother and my mom. Sometimes he would go to my brother's room. Mom said the police told her that it was a personal thing, or a family matter. It was the early to mid-80s then. I'm so glad he's dead now, but I am almost 100% sure he did it to at least some of my younger siblings from his 2nd or 3rd wife. It just somehow I had a knowing one day and it gave me chills. Stories number 26. AITA for being angry that my MOH dropped out of duties and won't attend my wedding due to a side gig. I 32F am getting married next June. I sent save the date cards in early February. And invites went out 3 weeks ago. We have a location, have a venue. And we are figuring about 200 people will be there. My fiancé has a large family. I asked my best friend Cara 33F to be my maid of honor. We've been best friends for about 11 years now, and I was the MOH at her wedding. I did all the duties and such. This was 5 years ago. Cara said yes, and was really excited and was all in. We spent a few months planning everything, and it all seemed normal. A bit of background on Cara. She has a side gig job of wedding photographer. It isn't her main job, and she does it as a bit of extra money to fund her travel lifestyle. She usually blocks the dates of important events where she is busy or is on vacation. I expected her to do the same for my wedding. She has a full-time job and doesn't rely on these photography gigs as her main source of income. If she did, I would have understood. But she constantly says she does this just because she enjoys it and likes the extra money. 2 weeks ago, Cara told me someone booked her for my wedding weekend and that she would have to drop out of both the wedding and the wedding party. I was stunned. I asked her why she didn't block the date, and she said she forgot to. I asked her to just cancel it and apologize. It is 7+ months away, but she told me she has a policy not to cancel any booked gigs. She said she is still excited to do all the other wedding stuff with me, trying on dresses, tasting menus, and going to the rehearsal dinner. But I told her if she didn't want to take one day off of work to support her best friend, then I don't want her in any of the planning process. She apologized for the dropping out, but told me she has a business to run and that she can't just cancel. I told her why she didn't block the date when she got the save the date card. She said she thought she did, but apparently didn't. I told her I didn't feel like talking to her anymore. I was too upset and angry. That was 2 weeks ago. She sent me a text message, but I didn't respond. I told some other friends, and some think she should still be part of the planning process, but others were really upset with her on my behalf as they were also upset with her actions. I'm really hurt that my best friend won't be my side, as I was by her side. But now I'm rethinking our entire friendship. AITA for not letting my friend be part of the wedding planning process after she told me she couldn't attend/be my maid of honor due to a photography gig. Edit. To answer some questions, Mo duties weren't going to be overly expensive. It isn't a destination wedding. We began to get ideas for a bachelorette party, and it honestly wasn't going to be anything over the top or pricey. I'm an introvert, and some ideas that were kicked around were glass-blowing workshop. Animal yoga goat yoga apparently is a thing nearby, or just a long spa day. We got a good price on hotel rooms if anyone wants them. But again, it isn't a destination wedding. It is in the city we live in. Kara and her husband travel a lot. Not for work, but for fun. They both make good money. Kara just loves photography and likes doing it as a side gig hobby. Since the save the date announcements went out, they booked 2 vacations, a cruise and ski trip. So I'm not buying the she needs the money aspect of this. I don't know how her photography booking goes. I know it is online. She usually focuses on couples that are cash-strapped and looking for a cheap, but professional, photographer. She has been to several of our friends' weddings before, but never as a photographer. She always said she would hate to be a photographer for a friend's wedding because she wouldn't be able to enjoy herself. I'm not really sure why we sent the wedding invites so early. I figured it didn't matter. I think once we got the invites and got all the addresses, it was like, why wait? And just sent them. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, it's 7 months out. Whoever booked her can find another photographer. Just like you can now find a different MOH. A better MOH, an upgrade. Have the wedding of your dreams. Also hire her competition. Commenter 2. NTA. This is confusing because doesn't she have to agree to the booking? Someone can't just book her as a photographer without her agreement. Feels like she's making excuses. Reply. I honestly didn't think about that. I'm not sure how her bookings worked. She works alone. But I know sometimes her husband helps her with minor stuff. Now that you brought that up, I think I'm even more upset. Commenter 3. NTA. I'm a wedding photographer as my actual job. It's my sole source of income, and I don't understand how she managed to book a wedding that day and why she now can't back out of it. It honestly sounds like she's looking for an excuse not to be your MOH. Commenter 4. You are not her best friend. A best friend would have blocked that date. A best friend would have apologized, found a replacement for their clients, and stayed available for you on your wedding day. It's hard and painful to find out that someone we truly have loved and cared about and done our best for does not return that love and care. It's best if you can accept it, end the friendship, and find a replacement for MOH. I am sorry this is the best scenario though. Don't quit loving and caring for your friends due to this person's lack of love. You will find a better friend that will stick with you, and that will be a real best friend for you. Commenter 5. This must be very upsetting to you. It's an important day for you, but clearly far less so for her. It's probably the end of the friendship if she thinks that her side gig is more important than the commitment she made to you. There's really not much you can do. I wouldn't recommend having her stay in the party or be part of the prep, as her presence will create resentment. You have 7+ months and can fill her place. I'm sure you will do so and have a lovely wedding. NTA. Commenter 6. NTA. She didn't value you and your wedding day enough to block off her calendar. She prioritizes her side gig over a promise she made to her supposed best friend. She has no problem bailing on you, but won't bail on her side gig. In short, you really don't matter that much to her. Cut her loose. She doesn't value you or the friendship. Commenter 7. NTA. Your friend knowingly booked that wedding, drafted a contract and signed it. Anyone who's booked a photographer knows you can't just go online and book a date, and that's confirmed. There's a lot of back and forth, price chats, and then contract signing, which means your friend forgot to block the date and then kept forgetting every time they communicated with the other party. Then your friend waited until contracts were signed to say something. I think she left the date open and would have performed her duties as no one booked her, but knowingly left the date open to help grow her business. In the business world, any business is good business. Stories number 27. Entitled customer tries taking my mom's deli order. I spoke to my mother this morning, and she told me this happened to her yesterday. Edit. My parents were at the grocery store yesterday, and my mom, who is a little person at only 4 feet 6 inches tall, so she has to stand where she can be seen and heard to place her order. She places her deli order when they call her number and waits patiently. When her order is ready, she goes around to where she meets the deli worker, and someone tries shoving her aside, saying, "That's my order." The worker tells the woman it isn't her order and that her number wasn't called. The woman demands my mom's deli order. It got so heated by the time my father returned from another grocery aisle. The manager was talking to both my mother and the woman had to show their grocery list to show who ordered what, and my mother even provided her deli. ticket number to show her number had been called. After talking to other customers, the manager gave my mother her order and had to have two employees block the other woman from trying to grab the order, and my mother made her way to my father with the two quietly getting away to the next aisle they needed to get to, but not before hearing the manager warn the woman, "Don't disturb my parents. Rest of her shopping or she'll be removed from the store." Comments. Commenter 1. Hopefully the manager escorted the other out of the store. Edit. Manager should have, but God forbid management deals with a bad review. Reply. And what's more, if they respond to the review with the truth, it makes me like a place better. One time in Houston, I was looking for the address to this bar. I saw it had lower reviews, and that surprised me because it was always great. Turned out they just didn't have many reviews, and one of them was 1 star. It was a woman claiming management was rude and threw her out. Management responded with a telenovela about how that woman came to the bar alone, went to a group of people celebrating a friend's birthday, and just would not leave even though the people were visibly uncomfortable. Then she sat down, and when they finally said something, she got irate and refused to vacate the seat, forcing the bar to have her removed. Made me feel like if things got weird, they would have my back. Commenter 2. I used to work at a craft store. Corporate policy was if a customer filed out a survey and gave anything exceed a perfect score, the store manager had to reach out to see if they can fix it. Well, at this time, I only hosted events and taught classes. Store manager said they had a complaint about the lady event from a customer, that she and her sister were ignored the whole time. So he gave her credit to take a free class and told me to be mindful of customers. But see, I knew exactly who complained because they were the only two adults who came together. And the one who complained is a customer who always drive me crazy, but I was always professional. Anyway, later that day, the lady came to an event. My boss stuck his head in and asked how everything was going. The lady said, "Oh, fantastic as always with glitter trash unicorn. She's always fantastic." After she left, I hopped on the radio and said, "Hey boss, remember that complaint you told me about before my shift?" "Yeah." The lady who said everything is always fantastic during my events was the one who complained. "You're kidding?" So she was basically just digging for free stuff. Yup. Commenter 3. If it gets to the stage of requiring employees block this woman, then why weren't the police called and have her ejected? I'm surprised a manager in this day and age would put employees in a potentially dangerous position given the legal problems if anyone was hurt. Commenter 4. My son works for a grocery store, and you wouldn't believe the number of people that have been banned for life because of crap like this. My mother always said people who acted like that were petted and humored too much as a child. I miss you, Mom. If your mother is still alive, please tell her how much she means to you. Commenter 5. I was in Whole Foods once, the day before Thanksgiving, picking up our turkey. You had to do the order ahead of time, or you were going to be SOL as far as getting the size you wanted. A woman walked up to the counter and said she wanted a turkey. The employee asked her for her receipt number, and the woman told them she didn't have one. She just wanted a turkey. Meanwhile, the other employees were pulling and assembling orders for people who had called in their order or done it all online, like you're supposed to. The woman was told that, and her response? She pointed at an order that was being prepared for someone waiting to pick it up and said she wanted it. She was told nope. That belongs to someone. So she had a full-on toddler meltdown. That didn't get her a turkey, but certainly did show off her asshattery or something. Stories number 28. Aita for telling a girl to keep her fantasies to herself? IF 19, am a triplet to 2 brothers. Ben and Owen M 19. We've always been attached at the hip. We sleep in each other's rooms all the time. Owen is in my room more than his own, lol, and we've grown up sharing everything. Hotel beds, some clothes, bedrooms, bathrooms, etc. Physical touch is also all of our love languages. So we hug, sit close, lean on each other, etc. a lot. This is important for the story. We all go to the same college. And recently Ben started hanging out with a girl, Sue F18. They've been hanging for a few months. But Owen and I hadn't met her until the other night. Ben asked if he could bring her to our already planned movie night with 2 other friends. And of course me and Owen said yes, because we're nosy and excited to meet her. I was sitting between Ben and Owen how we usually sit, and our legs were touching. I thought Sue gave me an odd look, but I brushed it off. Maybe she was looking at Ben? Throughout the night, I rested my head on Ben's shoulder a few times, usually when he was on his phone since I'm nosy lol, and thought I heard Sue scoff every time. I still didn't think much of it at that point. The movie was background noise as we talked except for Sue, who was on her phone at some point. I had moved to the floor and had my head rested on Owen's knee. I asked him if we could share the blanket he was using, and he let some blanket down for me. I guess that did it, because Sue finally dropped her phone and asked me to pause the movie. The second he did, she blew up at me. She called me gross and accused me of sexualizing my brothers, telling me to stop being so sleazy. I sat up quickly as she went on to say that Ben and Owen looked uncomfortable all night. And that was the last thing I'd want to do to my brothers. Owen straightened himself with a confused look and said that she was making it weird. Sue replied with, "You could at least seduce each other when you don't have guests over." Owen snapped and said that she was disgusting for saying that. And if he wanted to share a blanket with his sister in his own house, he would. Their fight escalated to yelling, and I excused myself to calm down. The night ended with Ben asking Sue to leave. Here's where I might be the AH. The next morning, Sue messaged me on Instagram and kept berating me. So I finally responded and told her she was weird for thinking there was anything romantic between me and my brothers, and that she should keep her fantasies to herself. I felt justified at the time because of how humiliated I felt the night before. But now I feel bad. Ben is very introverted and struggles to make friends. And being triplets and sharing a friend group can make it harder for him to branch out. I don't want to come between him and a friend he made on his own. Adieu? Comments. Commenter 1. Look, you and Owen aren't going anywhere. So any friends Ben makes need to be okay with your closeness and your sibling dynamic. Sue obviously isn't that friend. It's gross that she sexualized casual affection between siblings. If I saw that display, I'd think, oh, that's sweet. They must be super close because they're triplets, not that y'all were fucking. Sue is 100% the problem. NTA, commenter 2, NTA. She probably likes him and misplaced her jealousy. You did the right thing by calling her out because that was very disrespectful of her. I know you don't want to come between him and his friend, especially since you said he struggles at making them. But as his sister, you're just telling off someone toxic for him. I can foresee she's the type who'll control his every move once you let her.